Good morning, everyone. Nice to see everybody here. We will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any additions or to the agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
a question. We have a couple things on our agenda discussing a building rent or building
Yes.
purchase option. Should they be in closed session?
I was going to speak to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carrie's going to speak to that. So go ahead.
Oh,
Or do you want to, or do we want, or we can speak it now, or do we want to wait till it comes up?
Well, I just think if
I
you're
was
going to
gonna-
talk, you should go in closed sessions
Yeah.
about renting or, I mean, if you're trying to negotiate or.
Yeah.
correct. And I was going to speak to that and a special session that I was hoping to have with a work session as well in a week. So I would suggest that we look at doing a closed session.
You want to pull those off?
Should we pull them off the agenda? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we will be pulling, if you go to page 2 under the administrator report, we will be pulling off, I believe 5 and 6, yes.
I will say that with rental, under the statute, I've asked Brian for an opinion about leasing and whether or not you can speak about that specifically in closed session. Leasing, you can about purchasing.
Yeah.
But if it's a bid process, I mean, we certainly can't discuss
I
a
was
bid-
hoping that we
open
could certainly
bid
go into
process.
that.
That's, we had discussed that in finance yesterday too, yes.
So, but we can certainly pull them off for now.
And then Carrie, do you have any?
The other additions that I had, you would have gotten an email to request to add the resolution 2H for a gambling permit by Holy Rosary, so I'd ask to add that. And then I also wanted to make a note, yesterday in the Finance Committee, there was an addition on our agenda, just to note that we did speak with Becky Mitchell from the museum with regards to the budget on the museum, and she'll be coming late at a later time. I just wanted to note that was not included on our original agenda for finance.
Is there something, an action item today?
There is no action. I just
No,
wanted you to
no.
make note of it.
It was just added to the finance agenda. Would we like to put resolution 2H into the consent agenda, or would we like to put it into under our administrator?
Well, I think you should put it under administrator
Okay.
or
Yep, I was thinking the same.
Since it was an ad, sure.
Yep, we'll put it as number 9 then under our administrator.
Then my only other suggestion would be, I believe we have several potential individuals here that may be speaking to the watershed district, and perhaps they want to sign up for open forum, and then they could speak closer to where we're right before we're going to do the appointments.
So what we would like to do is all of you that are going to speak towards the watershed appointments, we will give time for public comment during the appointment time, so we don't need you to speak in open forum. So if you sign up for open forum, you can defer to that time. Is there anybody, let's just raise your hand. Raise your hand if you are going to speak, you signed up for the open forum and you are going to speak for the public, or for the appointment. So is there any of you that would prefer to speak in the open forum, or would you like to do it during the public comment time that we're going to have for the appointment time?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
if I could
Does that
offer
make
a
any sense?
suggestion, could we just put open forum and then go right into the appointment? I mean, and then do reports and correspondence after that?
Yeah, we could,
'Cause then-
that was the other option.
Because a lot of people here, that's what they're here for, and I'm sure they have busy days too, so.
Okay, so is that okay with everyone? Let's move, then we will move the appointments to right after the open forum. So you guys, all of you can speak during the open forum then, if that is okay. And if there's anybody after that that did not get signed up on the open forum, we will give you time to speak for the appointments. Is there any other additions or corrections to the agenda? All right, hearing none, do we have entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Barry, second by Phil. Do we have any further discussion? All All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, minutes from May 6th meeting. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I had a couple on page 3 of 5 under sheriff number 3, where it says the administrator will look at properties owned by the city of Detroit Lakes to purchase. I just wonder if we should put for what? Just what are we going to purchase it for? Just a little bit more
Context.
information in there. Yep. And then on number 4 under the zoning for the FUM trust, it says it was tabled. I think we should make sure that we note that it was tabled at the planning commission and not
Not at this meeting.
Yeah, we didn't table it. It was tabled at the planning commission because that can make a difference on
Where's that one at?
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning the FUM trust.
Oh, okay. Third
then-
bullet, okay.
Yep. And then under, same thing with the second and third bullet under zoning ordinance amendments, that those were also tabled at the planning commission. We didn't discuss them at all. So I don't know if that one, I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, but.
Tabled by the applicant would be.
Yeah, tabled by the applicant.
Well, these are the zoning ordinance amendments.
Right, but the first one,
Yeah, the first one should be tabled by applicant.
Yeah, the first one was tabled by applicant.
That was all I had.
Does anybody else have any corrections or additions? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Erica, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Phil. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there any additions, anything that anybody would like to pull out of the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull number 8, 9, and 13.
8, 9, and 13. And we have Denise coming in.
I don't think she was.
Oh, she's not coming in.
She's online.
Let's move those to,
Under me.
That'd be fine.
yeah, or we could move them to after the break because Denise should come in and explain these.
Yep.
Let's move them to right before human.
Question.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the question I had between 8 and 9, is that the same agreement in the packet? I didn't understand the difference of the,
Oh, 14.
I talked to Denise
Yeah.
about those two. She said, no, they're different. They need to be in place for separate reasons. A one-time gift of $5,000. Other than that, it's just a organizational agreement. There's no money.
there was,
There was no money in the second one, I don't think.
it showed 5,000, both of them showed the,
Oh, yeah, it does show.
It's a
5,000.
one-time thing too.
but there's two of them and they're the same.
They are the
That's what,
same.
that's why I was wondering if one of them was
Oh.
the agreement, so,
I didn't notice that they were exactly the same.
but we
She's
can,
online. Do you
we can
want to
discuss
have
that
her
at,
clarify it now?
Yeah, can she clarify? Denise, can you hear us or? Can you clarify?
Yes, I
that?
can hear you.
Can you clarify that?
Certainly.
8, 9?
I can look at the packet because they should be two separate agreements that are in the packet, although I didn't enter those. So I'll follow up on that. But the first agreement should be our partnership agreement with them, which there are no funds involved. That's just, we agree to work with them and do referrals and things like that. The second one, the Cornerstone Agreement, is for a one-time $5,000 allocation from our FFPSA grant.
They appear to me to be both the same.
They are.
Yeah, we were just
both
looking,
the same.
it appears that when
Okay.
when they were sent to us, they were two. of the
Okay,
same.
I apologize for that and didn't realize it. Well, how would you like me to,
Can you just send out
Remedy
the
that
copy of
now.
the agreement and get it to Peggy before
Sure.
the administrative report? And so,
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
it's just an agreement, but
Yeah.
they were the
Yep.
same.
Yeah.
Yep,
Then we can approve
absolutely.
And I
will
just
do that.
general discussion on the MOU with the elder
Okay.
abuse. Just wanted, I mean, that entering into MOUs is significant and I would like some, just,
I think it's
The
the same
MOU is a renewal.
that, you know,
It's a renewal.
It is not new.
parties.
Yeah, the MOU is a renewal and it's just a change of the parties involved. There's no change in the
I'd like to
MOU.
discuss it at
Yeah.
later. Then when we come back, just to see who the
Certainly.
partners.
Yep,
So we are going, so Denise, we're going to add number 13 to the end of Carrie's report, or Carrie's
Okay.
to the administrator. So
8, 9, and 13.
8, 9, and 13. We're going to
Okay.
add them all right at the end.
All right.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Denise.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Phil. Do we have a second?
With the exception.
With the exceptions.
Things we pulled.
Yep. Motion by Phil. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Barry. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the open forum. Remember that if you, I'm sure we have a number of people that are going to speak. Somebody could get the clipboard. I'm going to apologize right away because I might mispronounce your name. So if I do, I'm sorry. I don't intend to. Richard's really good at names, so he can help me.
Yeah, I'll look it over.
And then also, if somebody is speaking and you are going to say the same things, you do not have to repeat anything. If there's something new. If you want to reaffirm, that's fine. But does that make sense to everybody? And then the last thing, if we can limit everybody's comments to 3 to 4 minutes, because there's a lot of us, that would be very helpful for us to continue moving on with the meeting. And then right after, and then again, remember, right after this open forum, we're going to go right into the appointments. So we'll do it fresh in our minds. Is there anybody here that has not signed up for the open forum that would like to speak about the appointments? Anybody? Okay. All right. So first on the agenda is Chris Jaskin. So when you come up here, please state your name and your address. And if you want to defer and not speak in the open forum, just tell me. That's fine. We're going to do the appointments right after the open forum. So you might as well do it now. So remember, please state your name and where you live.
My name is Chris Jaskin, 864 Lake Forest Circle. Been on the watershed board for about 4 years now, and in my opinion, the watershed has become complacent. And the effort to bring about change there is extremely difficult. And I think you're all aware of that. It's in our community. And so I think it's frustrating for me to try to get something done there that takes 10 times longer than it needs to. And because of opposition, even though we get it done, we've gotten some good things done. But it's been with just a fight. And so we wanted a stakeholders meeting to bring in the community to get the views of the county, the city, people from the community. It was fought every step of the way, just to simply hear them. We've made a couple of changes. One is a new attorney, a new engineering firm, both of which to me can bring the watershed to a whole nother level, fought every step of the way. And so what I'm here to say is I think it's imperative that you reappoint Scott Busker to our board. He's a visionary. He's embedded in this community, and he just has the insight that this board needs to bring it to the next level. I also encourage you to, rather than appoint old members, existing members, I encourage you to appoint new members. We've got some very qualified people that have applied, Mr. Scary, Mr. Lee, both of which have great resumes. So you're going to hear two sides of the story today. I'm here to encourage you to give us some new blood so we can get some things done there and bring the watershed into another level, which I think it is fully capable of doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaskin. All right, next we have John Olkeson.
Good morning. A little different sitting on this side
Morning, John.
than facing you, but I'm John Okeson, 13167 West Lake Sally Drive. Past 14 years on the watershed advisory between the county board and the Pelican River watershed. Just a few things I want to bring up that has bothered me. You know, the present board of managers on the watershed spent about a year going through these rules, and my understanding, they reworked a lot of them, and they're all in agreement. At least three of them were in agreement with the rest of the board. All of a sudden, they bring it to a vote. At the final minute, they vote it down. And what really is upsetting as a past county commissioner, that they wasted $100,000 roughly of taxpayers' money of the watershed. That's should not have been. They should have pretty much canned it right from the beginning instead of spending all that money. Is there going to be payback for the residents in Pelican River watershed? I imagine not. So, again, it's what a small majority wanted on that board. We got a lot of good people that have spent a lot of time reworking these rules. I think all the applicants are qualified, no question about it. But which ones are going to really look at lake water quality so we can protect our lakes? I just spent about a week over in Wisconsin next to some lakes. They're already turning green. And when I first moved on Lake Sally 35 years ago, there was the issue there. But I think through tightening up some of our regulations, things have improved. I think my personal recommendations for your appointment is to reappoint Dennis Kroll. There's a lot of experience. They're still dealing with Rice Lake project, Camel Creek project, and some issues on Floyd Lake. And also, I would recommend either Jeff Lewis or John Scarry. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Mr. Oakson.
Oh, it's my understanding that Jeff Lewis has pulled his application.
Okay. Sorry, next we have Scott Walls.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. My name is Scott Walls. I live at 19766 190th Avenue. I have, in my business, I own Meadowland Surveying. I've worked alongside the Watershed District for going on 24 years now. I have great respect for what their mission is, and everybody that's lived here their whole life knows how important the lakes are. As far as the rules, I sat in every single meeting they had for the rules revision. There was no blindsiding concerns about different sections of the rules were brought up at every single one of those meetings. Some board members may have listened, some didn't, and they weren't completely gutted. There was one section that was asked to be removed, and that was the section related to shoreland alterations and vegetation alterations. All of the stormwater management that the watershed districts had control over, all of the other things that actually have, in my opinion, large impact on water quality are still there. It is my opinion that the watershed has spent way too much time helping people decide what the retaining wall should look like and how many branches they should trim off their tree rather than working on projects like the Campbell Creek and the Rice Lake project. Those things have been funded for in excess of 20 years for some of them, and they're still not done. I agree with the direction that the board is going, that they're trying to get the watershed district to handle the projects that they're uniquely qualified to handle. They're the only governmental entity that can get the grants and the funding to do these large projects to help stop the contaminants from even getting into the lake well upstream. The major contaminants are coming from upstream. And that's what those projects can do. So I would support Scott Busker and either of the two new candidates. I think pushing that directive is imperative for cleaning up our lakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walls. Next, we have Scott Busker.
Good morning. My name is Scott Busker, 2264 Long Lake Road. First, I'd like to thank you guys for appointing me to fill out the balance of Phil's term from January through today. So appreciate that. Yesterday, I had the chance to go out and do a watershed field trip with Administrator Tara Getter and Manager Rick Michelson. And we got to see the projects that can truly move water quality in Detroit or in Becker County. And we got to see the Rice Lake project, Campbell Creek, Sinclair Lake, and Pelican River, and we, Bucks Mills, and it was really, really fun to visit and just see the progress that's been made. But as Scott mentioned, there's a lot of work to do left on these projects. Some are further along than others, but these are meaningful projects that we are now in a position to focus on and make a move. And I feel with my engineering background and leadership experience that I can be a strong player on the watershed board and to represent you people and the constituents of Becker County in a great way. So I would respectfully ask for your consideration for my reappointment as manager on the Board of Managers for the Pelican River watershed. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
as a candidate, I'd like to ask a question or two
Yeah.
for the candidates when they come up. But on Campbell Creek, what do you see as the funding source under finishing that, to moving forward and finishing that? Who is going to be responsible for paying for some of that?
You know, honestly, that I'm new to this board, and so the funding sources, I can't speak to that, to the depth of it, but I do know that we do have funding in place, and at this point, I don't believe that that's a hindrance for us. But I don't know exactly how that looks.
Where do you see the contaminants coming from on that?
You know, it's been a process for me to understand what that looks like. I don't know that we know for sure. There's been some different proactive, best management practices put in place. And I got to see a bunch of that yesterday, but that was one of my questions.
I happen to run, the reason why I'm kind of specific to this, I happen to run across a landowner from up there, and they have mostly wooded land. And as you know, in my opinion, a majority of that problem comes from sloughing off from the channel itself.
Mm-hmm.
And to no fault of anyone's, this is a natural occurrence that happens. And I think we've heard this before, that sloughing or erosion on the stream bank itself is a major contributor. So they had concerns about this. They had long stretches of undeveloped, unnatural area. So they were worried about the who's paying for it. And then I think part of the project is rocking some of that. And they were concerned about so many trucks coming in rocking through their property and what that would mean to them. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and honestly, Barry, I'm excited to dig in and understand that a bit more, because there is some real meaningful work that can be done there, and so it's going to be exciting.
Our neighbors to the north in the Buffalo Red up at Callaway have a big project going, a $5 million project, and the maintenance was who pays for this maintenance on some of these projects is a big concern. A big concern to me representing those people, and obviously in Pelican watershed, I don't have as much, but what's fair and not, and in the water world, if you put a pail of water in front of two, especially farmers, you're going to have a fight over it. So it's a delicate, and as you can see today, these rules and regulations are very sensitive. So thank you.
Great points. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, does anybody else have questions for Mr. Busker? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rick Michelson.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Rick Michelson. My address is 13125 West Lake Sally Drive, and I am on the Board of Managers. I happen to be, at this point in time, sitting in a position of being a president or chairman of that board, and pretty much involved on their activities and what they've done. I'm going to start off by disagreeing what Mr. Jaskin has said about fighting. I mean, he made it sound like all we do is come to our meetings every month and sit and bicker and fight, and that has not been the case at all. As John pointed out, we embarked on this rules revision process with our new attorney and our new engineering firm, and those guys are wonderful. The new engineering firm that we have hired is very well versed in water law and has worked with watersheds all over the state, and they're just very knowledgeable on what we need to do and have been very helpful in the rules process. As we went through this process, from the stakeholders meeting to the hiring of the new advisors, the engineer and our attorney, it sounded like everything was a fight, fight, fight. Well, you know, when you discuss and ask questions and represent your opinions, that doesn't mean it's a fight. That means it's a discussion. And we had a lot of those discussions. Along the way, there was questions, and I have to say, Chris had a lot of questions when we were going through this process. And he had good questions. He's a smart guy. He's been in the construction business. He kind of knows, you know, what happens when you put a shovel in the ground and what you have to do and all those kinds of things. He had really good questions, and a lot of the things that were proposed in our new rules, or our revised rules, I should say, by our engineering firm, Chris had questions, and a lot of them he didn't disagree. And as our engineer would explain it and why they recommended these things and the reasons for them, and many, many times Chris said, okay, I understand, I can live with that. And so, you know, we thought, like John said, this was the biggest change in our rules was a last-minute deal, and everybody thought that we were in agreement as a result of our discussions, not as a result of any fighting. So that was a big surprise. And however it rolls, we're going to accept those rules, and that's what we operate under right now. They're official. All the postings have been done, and all the information has been given out to all the agencies, counties, cities, road authorities, et cetera, you know, so they're in the books right now, and that's the rules we have to play with, and we're going to play with them. And we're going to continue to do a lot of good things. Kind of lost my train of thought here. Another thing that was brought up is that we move so slowly. And what the reality of the situation is if we could just make a decision on our own, we would move at lightning speed because we can make up our minds. But we have so many other agencies that we have to deal with. We have to deal with Minnesota Pollution Control. We have to deal with DNR. We have to deal with all kind of other regulatory agencies. And we have to work with all the rules that, besides our own rules, all the rules that they present to us. And that takes a time. And we're dealing with property owners, and they need some time to digest what's going on as well. So even though things don't move as fast as a lot of us would like to, I think we're getting things done, and we've done a lot of good things, and we've got a lot of good projects that we're continuing to work on, and there's some new ones in the foreground and that we're going to embark on, and we're going to do a lot of good work.
Rick, you're getting close to
Okay.
time. Could you, if you
All
could
right, I'll wrap it up.
Thank you, Rick.
In terms of managers, I would hopefully recommend that you guys reinstate Dennis. He has, you know, you need new blood, you need new ideas. In the past years, I think we've gotten some new managers, and we've got a lot of new blood and a lot of new ideas. But we need people like Dennis on our board that has worked on these projects for a long time. He understands what we do, how we do it, why we need to do it. I'm going to kind of compare Dennis's appointment to if you want somebody to, for an example, be on the school board, you want to have somebody that cares about the kids. So we want to have somebody like Dennis on our board that cares about water quality. That's our biggest thing for the Pelican River Watershed District. So I would really recommend, and hopefully that you guys will reappoint Dennis He's done a lot of good for our watershed district, and he's got a lot of good time ahead of him. So thank you very much.
Rick, I
Thank you.
got a question for
Sure,
you.
sure.
So it's my experience in the Pelican River watershed of years and years of abuse, by abuse of power, punishment. I myself have received that punishment from the watershed for doing nothing wrong. And it actually cost me a lot of money. So I'm not gonna go, but we overflowed your office over there out into the lobby with people who had been recently abused by the watershed for just minor things and huge $40,000 surety bonds. So I'm not going to get into all those. You dismissed all those. In fact, you made a comment that there was some false truths there, or half truths. That's what the other board member told me. And so I didn't have any half truths. I'm not like that. And so mine was disregarded. But I just want to bring one that what happened to Raymond Redding out on Floyd Lake, because Raymond got in touch with me because he had done some landscaping, maybe not right to the permit, but he done a really good job of preventing runoff in his yard. Excellent. And the watershed they didn't like it, and they made him take it out. Then I talked to some board members, and I'm like, look at the slope that we got now, straight to the lake. And so then they allowed him to put it back in. But it was a huge job, and this is what really kills me is the money it cost him. But not only that, they made him get a $40,000 surety bond and would not give it back to him because the plants weren't growing yet. How do you answer when you make somebody take a huge project and take it all apart and then let them put it back together? How does
Mr. Chair, I think we're deviating
Yeah.
from appointments.
Well, what I want to do is say that we need new people here, because that doesn't clean up the lake.
I think we can talk, you can respond.
I just have a quick response.
Yeah.
And thanks for your question, Richard. And I'm very well aware of what happened with Mr. Redding's project, and there were some problems. But again, they were worked out. And I just want to say, with our new attorney and our new engineering firm, we did have a very cumbersome way of enforcing rules before. And that was a part of what you taught, that was a part of it. And with our rules, and not only rules, but policy changes that we've made, we don't do that anymore. So we have a very clear-cut and precise way of handling problems with our rules, and that doesn't happen anymore. So I apologize for what had happened to you. I guess I'll apologize for Mr. Redding, although there was some things that he was in violation for, and we had rules that we had to work with. But at any rate, things are moving along. Things are getting better. So I guess that's all I have to say. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Michelson.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. How do you say that, Rick?
Jim Bond.
Bond?
Jim Bond.
Okay, Jim Bond. Okay, next we have Jim Bond.
I'll be happy to, I didn't realize I had signed up to speak. I don't really have anything
Okay,
to say that's any different than John and Rick.
okay, thank you, Mr. Bond. Dennis Kroll.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I am here to seek reappointment to another term on the Pelican River Watershed District. I think in my letter, I mentioned my experience, and I have 38 years of experience. And I was president for a long period of that time. You can look to every major initiative that we did at the watershed, and I was a part of it. I know this district, I know the watershed district very, very well. And I just want to say that some of those projects were difficult. I worked with several different administrators, including Dick Heacock, who put in place a streamlining of many of the aspects of the watershed work. I might just bring up two things on the projects that I worked on. One is the Rice Lake project, which is nearing, the phase 1 is completed, phase 2 should be completed yet this year. That project has the most potential to save Big Detroit Lake. It took administrators and managers with insight and guts to take that on. There were 60 landowners that had to have easements signed. I worked on, I would guess, 90% of those. The second one that I would like to everyone to be reminded of is, do you remember the flowering rush crisis in this town? We had the mayor, we had people wanting to pull every piece. Tara Getter came to me and said, Dennis, what we're doing and what the DNR is telling us to do is not working. Through scientific research, we will never eliminate the flowering rush, but it no longer ceases or no longer is a threat to the swimming beach and all the amenities. Now, when it comes to Campbell Creek, I have land, the backside of my lot, fronts onto what used to be called Mud Lake, but is now called either Big Floyd North Bay or, I don't know, North Floyd. I've heard many things. I worked with the Scarry family among the first years I was on the Watershed District, probably 35, 36 years ago, recognizing the sloughing of that bank and the damage that Campbell Creek has done, not just to the north portions of Big Floyd, but its effects on Little Floyd Lake. I worked with that. We're moving forward with that. I'd like to be a part of that. I have one outstanding characteristic that I think has been demonstrated and is demonstrable. I am not beholden to special interests. I am not a developer. I do not seek to make money off of landscaping or any other aspect of the water quality picture in this county. I have maintained my faithfulness to the mission of the Watershed District and would like to continue to do that. Yes, this is a time of huge change for the Watershed District. I was not on the side of that change. Anyone can know that by reading the paper. However, having maybe lost a political battle, I am now ready to look for the positive side of those changes. Much has been made of the watershed can now move forward with other larger projects. Again, I want to make sure that can occur. Please reappoint me. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Dennis, Rick mentioned that there were a bunch of good changes now that happened, but you were against those changes?
Yes, why, that's no secret.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't
That's what I
against.
wanted to know. I just wanted to know because
I was not
Rick
against.
mentioned that these things were good. So.
Well, let me clarify that since you asked. I'm all for a streamlining of the process. All those things I worked directly with the engineering firm and the attorneys and had no objection to any of that. The last minute deletion of huge pieces, as Rick Michelson and others have talked about, from that plan that had been worked out with a highly respected, used by many other watershed districts, engineering firm, to simply have that tossed under the table, out the window at the last minute? No, I don't think that was what was intended, and that was a surprise. Do I want to work with this? Yes. I've suffered political defeats before, and I can handle them. I want to make sure it's done right. I can provide that continuity. Any other questions?
I just have a question. So just so I understand what you're saying correctly, the changes that were made aren't necessarily what you disagree with, it was how they were done.
That again is not necessarily completely accurate.
Okay.
The changes that were made into procedure, how we handle everything from bonding a project that is not meeting its permit and all those sorts of things, yes, I support. That needed all of it. I do think the watershed district needed to keep a hand in some of the shoreline management things that were deleted in that last minute amendment to what we had worked on for a year. But having had that happen, I seek to work to make sure this works and does the good work that everybody seems to want to have happen. So that is the best answer I can provide.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, kind of back on the same question that I brought to Mr. Busker. The Campbell Creek, how do you intend to reduce shore sloughing, and who would be or bank sloughing, and then who is responsible for paying that long-term maintenance on that?
I can't be sure of what the maintenance would be long-term. However, that bank sloughing has been a concern and a concern of mine, and I'm on record, you can look it up, that had to be stabilized. The engineering firm we're working with is going to work out that, hopefully, and that we are engaged in the first stage of that process. In terms of why the sloughing has become so bad in the last 100 and some years, engineers tell me that it is because of the change in the dynamics of the hydraulics of Campbell Creek. As you're well aware, a large county ditch was punched through Campbell Lake in that whole upper area, which increased the volume of flow through Campbell Creek, and it may have been eroding for hundreds of years before that, but not to the extent that it is now. So the plan will be to try to get that stabilized. I do not know exactly what the sources of funding are good to get this done. And basic landowner agreement from the meetings I attended is good to get this done. I am not clear and cannot speak completely to maintenance. Hopefully there isn't a great deal of maintenance on what's going to be changed engineering-wise. It would be an attempt to stabilize. So you'd have to probably talk to our administrator, Tara, to get the fine details of that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Kroll? All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Next, we have John Scary.
Good morning. My name is John Scary. I live at 25681 County Road 149. And I grew up on the north shore of Mud Lake. I will call it that because that's what I grew up calling it. I'm a township supervisor in Detroit Township. I have been for about 10 years. I'm very familiar with that watershed, with the Campbell Creek area, the Rice Lake area. Not so much with the Sinclair project that they mentioned, but I got to agree with some of the comments reiterated before by Scott and Scott. Some of these things have taken a long, long time. You know, Mr. Call just mentioned 35 years ago working with our family. Well, that was 35 years ago. And I realize projects are big, and maybe there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, but something's got to change. And I don't know if that means we need new people in there to change it or what exactly the answer is, but I'm willing to be one of those people. I work well with people. I want the watershed to work well with the county, to work well with developers, and to be approachable. I agree with Mr. Varberg's assertion. They have been heavy-handed in the past. I think there were some over-regulations on a lot of plots that went on. And I think those changes, it sounds like, those changes are happening, but I would just like to be a part of that myself. I don't know if there are questions that people have. I'm kind of not really sure what, I gave you guys my bio and.
So one of the issues that it appears is conflict among the board, and how do you think a new person coming in, not having been a part of that, how
Well,
would you handle that?
I can't address conflict or not conflict on the board. I've never been in any of those meetings. I don't know what that means or doesn't mean. All I know is I have been on many boards in the past. I work well with people. I don't get angry with people that don't agree with me. I think everybody has a viewpoint. I don't think it's as simple as you love the water or you love development. I think these things got to come together. I think there's a place to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Do you have any thoughts on the Campbell Creek
I do
assessment?
have some thoughts on that. No, I'm not familiar with the proposed project, but I think there are a lot of things that can and should be done along that watershed. Now, as far as, I know they're talking about streamside, I guess, building it up so it doesn't, erode with rock walls or whatever they come up with. That sounds like a very expensive project and one that's going to involve a lot of landowners. I think there are some things we can do in the short term that'll be much more inexpensive and could help right now. In the meantime, I don't know if this project has to be something that goes in phases or is all done at once, but I think we need to look at some ideas.
Do you think upstream or downstream is responsible for paying for most of that?
For paying? Well, I don't know. I think if this is a benefit for everybody, everybody should have a stake in paying for it.
That's a dirty one. That's a dirty
It shouldn't be on the landowners, I'll say that.
It shouldn't be on the landowner?
Well, the landowners that are having the work done on their property, it shouldn't be their bill. And should it be their bill to maintain it? I don't think so. This is for the benefit of the community. So we got to find a way for everybody to help.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Scary? All right, thank you very much. Next, we have Bill Henke.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the ability to speak before you. I'm Bill Henke, and I live on 962 South Shore Drive here in DL. I would like to, first of all, express my disappointment with the loss of jurisdiction by the Pelican River Watershed District due to their actions of the shoreline and bank alteration management related issues. I have benefited from it personally and the involvement of the Pelican River Watershed District, particularly with regards to the education piece of it. We had significant shoreline damage a number of years ago with high water, ice pushes, those types of things. They worked us through very diligently a nice management process where we restored natives with it. The bank sloughing has not occurred at all. I think to remove this piece or tool from the toolbox is a bit misguided. I think that the Pelican River Watershed District maintaining jurisdiction over this complements, the bigger projects that have come into focus. And I don't think that removing, that aspect of it is a solid solution. I think a lot of times we tend to disregard the amount of non-point pollution, bank sloughing, erosion, et cetera, that occurs in multiple sources. I think we're all aware, of the continued development, redevelopment, housing changes around all of our lakes that are within the jurisdiction of this. And so I think that, that just needs to be a thoughtful portion of what the Pelican River Watershed District does. Now, I know that there's a move to probably delegate it to the county as well as to the city. I think that the Watershed District is well positioned to at least take on the education piece of this. And I think too often what happens is because that education piece is not out there front and center and is a part of a decision-making process, whether it's at the realtor level, contractor that comes in, or certainly a landowner that comes in with preconceived notions of what we may want to do with our shoreline, a much better solution is to be really out in front with that education piece. And so, again, if the overall regulatory aspect of it is removed from the watershed district, I really hope that the county and the other, the city and the others that might be a part of this are really due diligent in erring on the side of the resource. I mean, too often we don't do that, and sometimes we fall prey to the whims of the alterations that people want to do. We have to take into account the societal costs and the cost to the whole watershed. So please, if nothing else, as we do our appointments, and I certainly, it should be common knowledge, support Dennis Call, to continue with this. Let's just please continue to err on the side of the resource and do our due diligence with this. And I think we can do it with all these tools in the toolbox, and let's not throw out essential ones. So thank you, you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Henke. Yeah, not quite yet. Is there anybody here that would like to speak towards the appointments? Anybody else? So this would be your chance to do that. All right. Oh, go ahead. Yes, please come up, state your name and your address.
I'm Lori Olson. I live at 280 Shorewood Drive here in Detroit Lakes. I'm one of the board managers right now, and I've listened to a lot of what's been said. And I think as far as the appointments go, Scott Busker has done a great job in the short time he's been on. I would encourage you to reappoint him. And Dick Lee is also a very good candidate. So that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Just a reminder, Mr. Lee has pulled his name from the.
Mr. Lewis did.
Mr. Lewis, okay. I was confused. All right, anybody else? Want to give everybody a chance to speak if they would like? Okay, so we are no longer going to take any more public comment on the watershed appointments. Okay, so I have an issue. I would like to ask the board members. We currently have a public hearing scheduled for 9 o'clock for the off-sale license at La Bella Restaurant LLC. Do we want to move to that right away, or do we want to finish with the watershed appointments?
Public hearing will only take a minute. I think that if it's scheduled at 9, we should
do it now.
We should get rid of that. And I see the gentleman's here for.
Yes.
For, I think it was free Italian food down in Swanee's if we approve it. So come on up.
Do we have to open the hearing though, don't we, with the motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to open the hearing for
the
public.
Do we get a close?
No, it was just open for. All right, so we have a motion by Barry to open a public hearing for the La Bella Restaurant LLC, doing business as Sauced and Swanee's, for their new off-sale liquor license. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Barry, second by Erica. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, please state your name and.
My name is James C. Herman. I live on Gosley Beach on Pelican Lake. My family came here from Norway in 1850. I grew up in New York and spent all my summers here and now a few winters, which I'm not sure that was such a great idea. So I decided, why not buy a restaurant? Sounds brilliant. So we're going to try to bring a little New York Italian flavor, keep the pub concept, but with some Italian variations, and maybe give the region something it doesn't really have right now. So that's the plan. So brought a chef from New York who's Italian. I'm not ready to kill him just yet, but we're close. Let's see how it works out. But thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank
Mary,
you.
did you have anything to add?
Okay, we did notify, we published the notice in the paper. We notified all of the local bars within 3 miles. We got no comment in opposition or in support of the application. But we are requesting that you approve the county on-off sale liquor license for a La Bella restaurant.
Okay, and we'll do that after.
Do it after we close the public. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for or against this issue in the public hearing? All right, hearing none. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I have motion by Barry, second by Phil. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, we're now closing the public hearing.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
all right, we have a motion to approve the off-sale liquor license, and we have a second by Phil. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you want me to do this resolution H?
That was the motion, that was the motion to approve the
Oh,
resolution H.
This is added, this was that charitable.
Oh, that was
gambling
the extra,
license
oh, that was
was
the
being
resolution.
added?
Oh, we'll do that after.
We'll do it at the end of Carrie's.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, we are now moving on to appointments.
Did we vote to close it?
Oh, yeah, we did close it. Yep, we closed the public meeting. Yep.
And
And
we
we
vote to
voted?
approve.
We voted to approve. Yep,
Did we?
yep.
Oh, okay. It's been a long morning already.
We did vote on both, correct?
Motion second.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to reappoint Scott Busker to the Pelican River Watershed.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Richard and a second by Phil to reappoint Scott Busker to the Pelican River Watershed. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I think it would be, I mean, I think the board is got a new direction now, and I think Scott can help lead that way. I think his experience and community support will do well. And no matter who gets on this board, though, I want to reiterate, a board can be different opinions and strong different opinions, and you can argue as hard as you want during the meetings. But when that vote comes, you have to put that vote behind you and move forward with the common good of that decision. And whichever way, whether you win it or lose it, I think, and today I think this board, your board should move forward as a board, not as individuals, and start and work together well. I hope, and I think you all are professional enough you can do that. So I just really hope that the direction that you're getting here will do that. So I just think it's important for you to put everything, all the past behind. I know there's the issues, and start working forward and make this the best possible. So
I would just like to piggyback on Commissioner Nelson's comments. When I became a commissioner, 3 years ago was it? Yeah. We went to a Commissioner 101 training, and one of the aspects that they discussed with us is when there's a vote on an issue from your board, and no matter what, if you voted for or against it, doesn't matter. If it passes, you support it as an entire board. And that is something that I believe in very strongly. And the reason why you are a member of a board is because you want to make things better for what that board does. And you're not everybody's going to agree, and that's why we vote, and that's why we have the democracy that we have. So just please take that to heart when you are out, whoever whatever happens with these appointments, that is the goal of your board and our board too.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to mention too, I think it's okay to have disagreements. You don't want a board that all feels the same way. So I think having differing opinions on a board is okay and should happen. That's when good work happens. But I'm going to echo what both Barry and Dave say is you have to get along. This board, with the exception of Phil, knows how it can be bumpy, right? And we get through it. And for
Only a couple pots.
For the most part, we still get along. So just, it is important for you just to be behind the vote that's made, whether you agree with it or feel like it shouldn't, how it happened maybe wasn't appropriate, but support the mission.
And one thing I also want to say, this isn't with the appointment, but I appreciate, I think all of us appreciate everybody that spoke here, everybody that's come here to express your opinion, because that's important to us as Becker County Commissioners, that we hear the opinions of our citizens. So thank you all we appreciate it. We really do. So we have any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second to appoint,
Mr. Chair,
reappoint.
just
Yeah.
before we do, I mean, we're going to pick one now and one in a few minutes, and I'm not sure who we're going to go with, but just thank you all for putting your name in there and applying, because these aren't glamorous and fun jobs. These are hardworking jobs that take a lot of commitment and dedication. Again, for you to put your name in is significant, and I really appreciate it. And unfortunately, I wish I had this problem at Buffalo Red Watershed, because we can't find anyone to be on that board for that one. So thanks again.
And also too, all of you are super qualified. That I have to say that. So it makes, that's a great thing to have too. So any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second to reappoint Scott Busker to the Pelican Watershed. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
So besides Scott, our other slate of candidates are Dennis Kroll, John Scarry, Richard Lee, and Raymond Redding. Is that true, Carrie? Are those, we've had a lot of people pull their names and add?
Just the one.
So Jeff Lewis is the one
only
that
one.
isn't. So Kroll, Scarry, Richard Lee, and Raymond Redding
Yep.
are the other.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to reappoint Dennis Kroll.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Barry and a second by Phil to reappoint Dennis Kroll to the Pelican Watershed. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes, I would say that I've been on both boards, this board, and I've been on the Watershed Board for almost 3 years. You guys say how a board should work, and I have to say, our board did go through some tough times when I was on it, but I always felt like we came around. And one of the linchpins in helping us come around, I want to give him a shout out now, is Rick Michelson. I really thought he was strongly opinionated, but when it was over, and he moved on. And I think that is a great quality, and I think he did a great job as leader of that board.
Do we have any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we have one. All right, motion carries. Dennis Kroll has been appointed also. All right, we are moving on to our county administrator.
Well, we have open our reports.
Oh my gosh. We are not moving on to our county administrator. We are doing our reports and correspondence. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah. All right, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Thanks, John. Come back again.
I will.
Yeah.
I didn't have much.
It's good to-
We did a zoning ordinance review. We're having weekly meetings. However, we've kind of hit a snag, and we're going to talk about it towards the end of the meeting. Barry and I are on that piece. We'll talk about that. I also had a joint powers meeting yesterday with the county, the city, and Lakeview Township about to do with the extraterritorial stuff. It's at the lawyer phase right now, but I think we're going to come up with an agreement so we don't have to do a joint powers. Those are the only two things I said.
I just had a couple also. I had human service, Richard and I had human services. There's a couple shout outs I want to give. The income maintenance unit met the required measure, which is 75% for timely processed applications for SNAP and cash assistance. The county was at 98%, which was far above the required measure, but better than even what the state is. The state is at 82%. So just shout out to them. Also, our public health was 100% compliant in February 2025 for completing health risk assessments. And then the final shout out is just to the overall Human Services Department. Their 2024, they had a perfect performance for meeting the DCYF financial reporting, which includes 32 major reports. All reports were submitted on time and in perfect order. The closing of the letter, I just want to read what the letter states just so everybody can know how big of an accomplishment it is. It says, I know this accomplishment requires planning and efficient operation and teamwork within your county Human Services Department. The result is timely revenue for your county and compliance with federal reporting for us at the state. Please congratulate your management and staff on this superb effort. So shout out to the whole Human Services Department. Then just a couple funding updates that we discussed at the Human Services Committee, the federal government cut funding for AmeriCorps, which typically helps with public health duties. We do not currently have one, but we have had one in the past that they assist with the public health duties. Really, all that means is just duties that were previously done by the AmeriCorps will be done by current public health staff. And then the other one, which is a little bit of a bigger issue and could have some fiscal impact on us, is the RSVP program, which is a program under the AmeriCorps umbrella. Mahubi was the funder for that, and they were informed in March that they will no longer be funded. Shannon and Christy over at Human Services reached out to Crookston to see if they could take it on. They were going to take it on, and then they found out their funding was also ceased. So what this means is, with RSVP allowed for us to pay drivers without having to submit a 1099 form for all mileage reimbursement in excess of 14 cents per mile. So there's major concern that this will cause us to lose some drivers. Many of our drivers are retired. We, as a county, are required to provide rides to medical assistance participants. We're also provide many rides in our child protection unit for kids, parents, medical appointments, different appointments, visitation. If we don't have this resource, Becker County has a very robust volunteer driver program, and this loss in funding could really hinder that. Which
What is the reimbursement per mile?
7, do you remember, Denise?
Oh, the federal, the IRS reimbursement? No, it's more, but it's 85.
You said 14 cents. Was it 14 cents?
No,
higher
it's
than
more
IRS?
than that.
Anything over 14 cents a mile from that 0.585 would be
What's 585?
85 cents.
federal.
585 is,
558 and a half.
Or 58 and a half, sorry.
well, the IRS rate's,
70 cents.
I'm just,
Yeah, just,
doesn't matter, but I was just curious if it's considered income then after the 70 cents?
After
No,
14
before it,
cents.
anything over 14 cents.
oh,
That's-
really? Anything
That's
over
the problem.
14 cents?
Yeah,
So it's considered income, anything over 14
yeah, and it's not
cents?
even
Yep,
fair
It's
and
not.
at all.
And many of these drivers are driving to Rochester, driving to Fargo daily, driving to Brainerd daily. So that it is a significant amount of miles that they put on. Christy and Shannon have a plan to, reach out to the volunteers, see what we can do. But the reality is if we don't have them, we may be hiring drivers. We may have to, we don't know what to be continued, to figure out what we will have to do, but it could potentially be a big issue.
We need to do some thinking about it. And it's not only that, we've had the same drivers for a long time. They're driving the same people, so, I mean, if you're going to
The relationships they have with
Mayo
them.
for cancer treatment or whatever it is, it's nice to be riding with somebody that you know and care about. And so there's relationships there too. And I guess I don't understand, because it shouldn't be 1099. It's an expense.
Mm-hmm.
Barry, you can write off your expenses. I can write off my expenses. I don't understand why it's only 14 cents.
Something's not right.
Something's not right,
doesn't make sense.
and I don't know who to talk to about it, but it's not only, it's gonna be bad for these people, but it's also gonna cost us a lot of money, if you can imagine taking somebody to the mail.
Can't we just call them tips now?
Well, that's, I don't know. But somebody's got to, we're gonna have to think about this, and if anybody can come up with an idea, or somebody knows something better, I thought maybe we could give them a chainsaw or something like that, but that's what they get.
Or
They gotta claim that too, so.
or a clean raincoat.
Yeah, a clean raincoat, something, a sandwich. Then I found out we give them sandwiches, so, and then they're gonna have to claim the sandwiches now, so. I don't know, I hope.
A bologna sandwich.
So that was my human services. The only other meeting I had was our housing subcommittee. We discussed that just the housing management in general would be looking to set up a meeting with MMCDC and members of that subcommittee to discuss our contract, which is due at the end of the year. And then we just discussed some need for some strategic planning for housing, starting at the EDA board level to better understand really what our goals at the county are as far as housing goes. And that's all I had.
Well, Mr. Chair, we had NRM, but the only item was the Pelican Watershed building that we're considering, bring up for consideration later. Had Lakeland Mental Health yesterday. They are going to ask for a 0% increase for 26. They realize the crunch on counties. They are also going to be experience a cut from MA. MA additional fees, they've been on for years. It's a 26 additional fee, so I don't know why you call it additional fee, but they've been receiving for MA cases. That's down to 11 this year, 5.9 next year, and 0 the next year. So that will be a burden on them.
Commissioner Nielsen, MA?
Medical assistance.
Medical assistance.
So they're eating that this year. They don't know the full extent of how much that is, and at our next meeting, we're going to get a report on how many dollars that is for that. But we had an early meeting because of the Memorial holiday next week, so we didn't have a lot of the financials, but we're still a very strong financial. I think the only other meetings, I had a couple Lake Agassiz Regional Library meetings, and I wish Nate was in here, but we're discussing lease agreements. As you know, Moorhead is building a new public facility event. I don't know, it's not an event center, but they're calling it the Loop. They have a big walking loop around it. The library is going to be there, an entrepreneur place, just a public meeting space for Moorhead. It's a very, very huge project. Nate, I'm talking about the Moorhead Library. So
take notes.
I wouldn't mind seeing this in paper. So they are asking us to, we lease space in the current Moorhead building and downstairs in the basement of the Moorhead Library. Very reasonable. Moorhead's been very generous on their square foot lease rate. But we are in the basement of a old building. So with Moorhead building this new facility, the Moorhead Library is going to be included. As you know, the libraries in the cities are paid for by the cities themselves. Detroit Library is a Detroit building, and Detroit has to maintain and have ownership of that building and maintenance costs. So when they built this, they have tax money they have a sales tax money. So there's a sales, I think it's a 0.5-cent sales tax that's going to pay for this building in the city of Moorhead. So now they're coming to us and saying we were planning on going with them if they had space, and they've designed it for space with the Lake Agassiz Regional Library system in, but they never negotiated a lease rate with us. They never negotiated, but they've been working with the Lake Agassiz Regional Library supervisors to get input. But now 2 years ago, they wanted us to commit to some money, $250,000 for furnishings inside. So, well, we realize that we have to have our own furnishings, but we're not committing till we come down to a lease agreement. We're not going to blindly give you money and then hopefully we can negotiate a lease. And that lease agreement right now is not, we're not settled on it. They came in, they wanted $25 a square foot, which is the cost of the highest retail space you can almost get if you're full retail. I mean, retail site at West Acres is probably, a new facility with really good visibility for retail. That's probably where you'd be on new construction. We were paying between $5 and $6 a square foot. And the new building is 3,098 square feet. I'm on the negotiating team if you can't get this. So the increase, it's a significant increase in we've negotiated, they've come down to $19 a square foot. I was thinking $15 a square foot would be adequate. Currently, City of Moorhead is renting space from Clay County for $15 a square foot in the law enforcement center, and there's no increase till 2036 or 2038. So that's kind of where I'm saying we should be paying the same rate and especially in a building that's being funded by sales tax and grant money, using the Lake Agassiz Regional Library as a leg to get that funding. So I don't know where that's going to go we're still negotiating, but I suggested that we're looking out for buying our own building. I think if you can find a reasonable building for less money, for your payments would be less than that lease space. So we're looking into other options now.
How would that work for their funding they got?
Well, we have nothing to do with Moorhead.
But you said they
It's
got
already
some of
passed. The
funding on
legislators might be upset with it, but there's nothing that can be done.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's a sales tax. So I did suggest and tried to work with the city of DL because they have space available, but the rest of the board thought that was too far away because the employees mostly live in Fargo-Moorhead, so it would be a big ask for the employees. So we are limiting our look space more towards the Dilworth, Moorhead area in close surrounding for purchase or lease agreements to try to see what other options. I don't think it's fair for constituents not to be provided other options if you're, in your opinion, not being a good deal. Now, I'm not saying the city of Moorhead's not offering a fair deal, because there are some services included in that aren't just your square footage. So such as janitorial services, snow removal. I mean, but those things haven't been worked out either. It wasn't. So there's lots of details. So I just wanted to give you a heads up, and the ask this year from the ask is an 8% increase of our levy over our request, and Becker counties would be about a 9% increase on what we're giving. So it's significant. So when this all pans out and we're in budget, we'll have to look at those numbers a little closer. So, all right.
All right. Richard, do you have?
I had Human Services with Erica. The only other thing I had was Safety Committee. So if some of you guys notice, our outside doors are now numbered, big numbers on them for emergencies. We're gonna look at, the highway department and the jail were done when they were built, but we're gonna look at the transfer station and the MRF for numbering those doors. We did have a small fire. It didn't go very good. The fire's fine, but some people didn't leave. So now we need to have a fire drill, not today, but we need to have a fire drill and see if we can get people. But we actually, it's a new committee, and actually the members on it are doing a really good job. Everybody's contributing, and we are getting,
I think, Carrie, you were at the AMC meeting when we had that speaker about every incident you have to analyze and redo. I mean, I think that's very, yeah, and I heard that, so I think I appreciate that. I think in the sheriff's department too, and any accidents, I mean, to analyze what happened and what could be done to prevent. Yeah, and I think those are, and he did a really nice presentation on that, so I think it's critical that we do that.
Yes.
Yeah, right down to a wood tick. We had a wood tick.
Well, you get Lyme disease, that's significant.
Actually it is, so, yeah.
Well, and the other thing I would add with regards to the safety committee as well is we're also taking a look at our old workplace accident and injury reduction program, which is required. Denise found the old document, was it 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that. We also have some other examples from other counties. So we are taking a look at that and updating that as well.
All right, Richard, do you have any?
Richard, on your work, your personal workspace, what does your safety committee do for?
Well, that's why I'm not sure why I'm on the safety committee, but I do have experience
on what not to do.
Accidents.
Thank you.
I'm not Tim the Toolman Taylor, but I have had a few. So.
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
All right, I have a few. I'll go really fast here. First, I had a DAC meeting, and on July 10th, they're having their first annual DAC beanbag tourney, and it's going to be in the park. The first prize is a set of beanbag boards that have say the DAC on them. If you want to check out more of the information, just go on the Facebook page of the DAC or the website. They have pictures of the clients holding the beanbag boards. And anyway, the entry fee is, I believe, $60 a team. So they're expecting to be a lot. They have some sponsors too that are sponsoring the event and everything. So it should be a pretty good deal. The other big thing that's happening at the DAC is we hired Hammers Construction to give us a preliminary design for an adding on an addition. So the addition, if you've ever been to the DAC, will go from the south side of the building all the way across to where the horseshoe circle drop off is. And it'll go out, I believe, I don't know how big, I can't remember the footage, but it's gonna be out to like whatever the setback is from the middle of the street, 15 feet or 20 feet or something. So it's gonna be a relatively large size distance. What the addition is gonna have smaller rooms, client rooms for teaching and educating, and then they're going to move the offices to that area also, and then the office, as you could, then the entrance will be moved to the west side of the building, and as you come in, you'll walk right by the offices. So if you need to see someone, you can just go right to them. Because right now, the offices are not in an ideal spot. They're kind of in a spot where you have to walk around and find a trail to get to them. And so, anyway, so that's one thing they're doing. And then also,
Mr. Chair,
yeah.
The DAC, that's a Developmental Achievement Center
Yeah.
across from the middle school.
Correct.
Do we provide assistance, county assistance?
So what we do is we have some clients, correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, we have clients that are on waivers, and then we pay the DAC a certain amount of money per person per day.
So as far as the adding on, that would be, there would be no county?
No, there's no county funding at all, no, not at all, no. And then they did one more thing at DAC, we had talked about that arts grant they had applied for, they got it, so now they're going to have an art teacher come in, and we're doing art projects with clients. And also on May 30th, the Laker Prep is coming into the DAC, and they're going to do art projects together, so that should be kind of cool. I had a Partnership for Health meeting. I'm not going to go into the measles portion right now because I believe it's going to be on the agenda for the next board meeting. Yeah. Okay, so they showed us a chart of all the legislative updates, and there could be some effects towards funding for the Partnership for Health. They don't know right now exactly how drastic they could be. I guess we'll all find out when they're approved, but they had the governor's report, the Senate's report, and the House report, and they had them all lined up next to each other so you could see what was, some were similar, some were not similar, and so I guess we'll just have to find out. And then after the meeting, Clay County and Becker County met together on what we need to do, because we remember that Otter Tail and Wilkin are leaving the CHP effective the end of this year. So we just kind of talked about what we need to do. We're going to look, the two counties are going to look at bylaws and see if there need to be any adjustments to bylaws and so forth. Then when that's all done, they're going to come to us as a committee, the Becker Wilkin committee, or Becker County and Clay County committee, and then we're going to look at them. Then they'll go to our respective attorneys, or maybe they'll go to the attorneys first. I don't know. Then eventually they'll come to our board for approval. We decided we were going to keep the name the same. We don't have to change anything like that. We're just two members are leaving, so it should be very painless, actually. Then we did go through all of the grants and how they're going to be split when we do split, because some of the grants end in the middle of the year, some end at the end of the year, some end in the third way through the year, half or a quarter, so they're all different. There are the person that was doing all this, the financial guy from Clay County, is amazing. He does a heck of a job. He can keep track of all that. So,
is he an accountant that says, what do you want the numbers to say?
No, yeah,
because that's what a good accountant can do. Make it look like whatever you want it to sell as.
So I also had a historical society meeting, and October 23rd to October 26th, the museum is going to host the haunted house. They also are looking at possibly having a, what do they call it when they, not a reprise, but I don't know what they call it in the show business thing, where you have another performance.
Encore?
Encore performance on the 30th, possibly.
It's like playing charades up here.
Yeah, I know.
What are they having on Encore of?
The haunted house.
Of the haunted
Yeah,
house.
they aren't 100% sure, so they're looking at it. The one thing that interesting that happened at the last meeting is they've been having a very difficult time getting a quorum for board meetings. So there were some of you may remember, Dick Eacock passed away, so his position was open, and then there was another one that went off the board. They're only on for, I think, can be on for 2 or 3 year terms. So the board decided to reduced the board membership from 9 members to 7 members, so now the quorum would be 4 instead of 5. So, because usually there's 4 people there all the time. This last meeting, there happened to be 6, but they hadn't had a quorum since January, so you can't really vote on it. You can give information, but you can't vote, so they decided to do that. And then another interesting thing, Dick Heacock, they're going to do a Dick Heacock Memorial someplace in Detroit Lakes, and one of the really cool ideas was when the Westlake project is, they're working on it, and the city is going, when their city is doing the beach part with those little pods that they're going to have for like benches and so forth at the crossings, they thought it would be a really cool idea to have a Dick Heacock bench out there. So, and it would be, and he actually loved to sit in the water, maybe not necessarily in Detroit Lake, but where he lived on Figueroa Lake, but yeah. And then also the American Adventure exhibit is done May 24th. So if you have not gone, go do it. Okay, the last thing, I guess I had 2 more. I'm going to go fast. I'm sorry.
You said that to start with.
I know. I'm bad. You know. I attended an AMC Managing Difficult Conversations with Constituents. It was a Zoom meeting. And 4 things that I got from that. When you're having a difficult conversation, the first thing they suggested you do is acknowledge the concern. And what we did on all 4 of these parts, we discussed as a whole group. Then they sent us into little breakout rooms, and then we practiced the scenario. And it was actually really good. So you have to acknowledge your concern. Like, I understand what you're saying. I hear you, or whatever. I'm sorry that affects you that way. And then appreciate what they say. So, like, I appreciate your opinion and your concern. And then, if possible, try to find something to agree with. It can be the smallest thing. Like, I had a conversation with a constituent the other day. I didn't agree with what they were saying, but we both knew I knew his mother, and I agreed with his mother agreed with him that his mother.
That he had a mother?
Well, no, that his mother was just something to talk to him about, so that you can develop a little relationship with him. Yeah, I don't know if that's agreeing, so I agree that you have a mother. Yeah. And then after you do all of that, then you give them your perspective. And then if that doesn't go well after that, make sure you stay calm, you're firm on your perspective. Don't let yourself be a victim, and don't counterattack them. If it gets to the point where, no, and they also said, don't stoop to defending your character or your integrity. If it gets to that point, just say, I'm not going to stay in this conversation with the way it's going. If it doesn't change, I'm going to leave. And then they'll respond to that, they'll apologize, or they'll say, okay, we'll keep it professional, or they'll continue and then say, well, that's conversation over. Thank you for your comments, and then just leave, or hang up, or walk away, or whatever. So that was the kind of the gist of the thing. Don't get into an argument with them. Last thing, then I'm done. We had a Lakes Country Service Cooperative meeting, and I'll just go through one thing that they do. They have a cooperative purchasing connection, and it's run by it's through their administrative services and run by their director. And what that is one of the examples is what they do is they have they establish a group of vendors, like let's, for example, food vendors for schools, like Cisco, let's use the word Cisco. They're a member of that vendor, and they will work on contracting prices for that vendor for those schools, so the prices will be cheaper for that entity. So and they will only do that for for organizations that are members of the cooperative. Now, they work throughout the whole state for all the cooperatives, well, 8 of the 9 cooperatives, and they also work with South Dakota, and then we also have a joint powers agreement with North Dakota, so they do work with North Dakota also. So they don't just work with our specific co-op, even though they are organized through our co-op. But so that I didn't realize that existed, and I'd been on that board for 3 years or 2, whatever, till then. So that is all I have. I'm done.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we move to probation at number
Yes.
45.
Yes. Can we? Is that okay with everybody?
That's perfectly
All right. Let's go right to Brian and his crew.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Peggy.
Morning, Jody.
Good morning. So I believe Peggy will put up the slides.
And I believe each of you have the PowerPoint
In our packet.
in your packet?
Yes, we do.
So, good morning. We are here in front of you for our 6-month data report for the pretrial supervision program that we put into place back in November. The information that we have in front of you today has a full collection of data inputs that is on page 2. I won't go through all of them, but these are basically everything that we have measured and collected data for the last 6 months. So on page number 3, basically what has happened is we have served we've served 25 individuals on pretrial supervision with a total amount of 32 cases. Clients can have several cases under their name, et cetera. We've had 20 male clients on pretrial supervision, with 5 of them being female as well. And then we also have our county breakdown. 17 of our clients have been from Becker County. 1 was homeless, and then 7 were out of county as well. On the next page, we have 2 that have successfully completed pretrial supervision over the course of 6 months. The interesting point on this is we have 22 that are still continuing as successful. Well, you may be asking, well, why only 22 within 6 months period? We just started it in November, so sometimes there's a transition period where we won't have clients coming onto pretrial for several months or so. So a chunk of these will most likely, barring anything unusual, hopefully complete successfully. We've had only 1 unsuccessful termination so far.
What is an unsuccessful termination?
Basically,
So you didn't
anything
terminate
that could,
them?
what's
So
that?
you didn't terminate them? A successful termination be they'd be unsuccessful. Would be
Unsuccessful termination basically means that they absconded or there was a violation.
unsuccessful.
Yeah. So they were
It's a double-
unsuccessful on pretrial.
It's like a double
It's a
negative.
double entendre.
You kicked them
Yeah.
out of the program and they're unsuccessful.
Yes, exactly. That's how Jody works.
And then kick them when they're down. Jody.
On the next one, we have, of all of our clients, 4 of them were noted as high risk, 8 were medium risk, and 13 were low risk. Of all of them placed on pretrial, we had 16 that were eligible for the MinPAT, which is an assessment that Joe provides to all of our clients that are eligible for that. In addition, we took it a step farther. For those that weren't eligible for MinPAT, we decided to do a MinPAT anyways, which gave us the result in the assessment score where we would put them on pretrial supervision to know what level we'll be supervising them at. Okay. So that's those. Programming. This is one of the better slides here as well. So far, we've had 11 folks that have entered programming at the start of pretrial supervision, meaning that they didn't have to wait until services started with us after they were on supervision with us. Only 1 of them has not entered programming. The makeup was inpatient and outpatient, with that being basically split. So as of right now, we've got 25 clients. It's been 6 months of supervision with a combined total of 2,015 days across all 25 clients, with a per diem rate of $60. If we look at that, that's saved the county approximately a potential savings of $120,000 or so, based on the fact that we didn't have pretrial supervision in the past. And so there could have been some other correlation there as to why the bail amount or other factors were a little bit lower, knowing that the judges now have another option to use within the community for supervision. So that is a potential cost savings that
I would like
pretrial
to just clarify. That number is pretty much if we could charge back the count, or I mean, if the county, but we have the staff there. So that, I mean, it's
Correct.
It's a definite savings, hopefully that we don't have as many staff but our staff are there. So I mean, we're really not seeing the savings, but I think the benefit is if this is working for the clients. And I think the concerns at the sheriff's, office, and I think Brian is coming to our committee meetings and being very active and addressing hopefully non-issues, because I think some of the staff were worried that this was going to be, people were going to be coming in and out all the time, and I don't think that's happening. So if it was, we'd be addressing that at committee level too, so.
And I did speak with Sheriff Glander on this, and, and that's why we say a potential savings. You've got a lot of stuff wrapped up in it. You have the jail that's still there, still operational. You have all the staff, all the food, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at it, there was one estimate that was higher on the per diem day. It's just a whole bunch of things that are factored into that.
And the less people we can have in jail, the better for society. I mean, that's
100%. So with that being said, our next steps, the positives of pretrial supervision, obviously, keeping individuals within the community, monitoring compliance, reduction in failure to appears, reduction of unnecessary jail stays, realizing meaningful cost savings, and supporting safety with early access to treatment before sentencing. Right now, we're at the 6-month review. We're going to do another one in a year, and then another one in 2 years, which will give you a compiled data set of how pretrial has been going and the continued efforts that are being put behind it. So with all that being said, any questions from you guys?
I don't have any questions on this, but with the, I'll switch gears a little bit. With the state's budget cut of Stillwater, do you see any trickle down up in this area for any, I mean, where are those inmates going to go, or what's going to happen to?
The only thing that we've heard right now is with the space factors that come along with the institution, you've got over the next 2 years or so, half of Stillwater clients or incarcerated persons will be placed in other institutions. So that'll kind of factor out as to where they're going to be placed. And then a slow transition for folks to basically go into the other institutions across the state. You'll obviously have releases at that point too, which will lower that number as well. As far as a budgetary aspect though, that's not going to have a factor on us out in the community.
The concerning part to me is there's no beds being replaced that I've seen.
Correct.
And unless we see a dramatic drop in crime, there's still going to be those violent criminals where we want put in a safe place. And, I just do not have the violent, hardcore criminals in Becker County. So it's just a thought.
Right.
So we're a concern in the future for where those type of individuals are going to be.
Yep.
I did hear some rumblings like a Barry Nelson foster home.
On that vacant egg land.
I might. Thanks, Jody.
Schultz in the works.
Maybe your taxes will go down when it's not a vacant egg land.
Mr. Chair, I see we have a distinguished guest back. Is there a comment that Judge Fritz would like to make, or? Okay. Well, welcome. Haven't seen you in the room for quite a while, so good to see you. You look very well.
Does anybody else have any questions for Brian or Jody? Awesome. Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate all of it.
Thanks.
That's not my home phone number, is it?
Yeah. This is your builder's number. Thank you all for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll bring additional information at the year point too, so another 6 months from now.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Carrie, let's move on to West Central Initiative under you, because that is Rebecca Peterson and Greg Wagner here. And thank you for being very patient.
Thanks, Brian.
For waiting for us too. And Mr.
Brian.
Wolf, we'll get to you right after. Thank you too.
Wednesday, we're still meeting on Wednesday?
Yes. Oh,
I thought this was a check to me. Darn.
sorry, guys. Just a quick reminder, we have our F5
Thank you.
meeting tomorrow for that kickoff.
Oh, it's a check. No.
As many of you that can come would be awesome.
1 o'clock, please.
At the police department. Yep. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Brian.
Reminds me, tomorrow you have courthouse tomorrow?
Yes.
Anyone want to go to courthouse for me? I got to join powers.
I think what time?
Is that 8:30?
8:30, yes.
Well, I'll talk to him.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Pleasure to be here joining you with our annual visit again today. I am Greg Wagner. I'm the Director of Business and Economic Development with West Central Initiative, joined by Rebecca Peterson, who is our Director of Development and Philanthropy. Just here to really give you an annual update of kind of what West Central Initiative has been working on in the last year since our last visit, and kind of what we're working on into the future. I'm going to start out by talking about several things, and then I'll pass it on to Rebecca as long as there's no questions for me. One of West Central Initiative's roles is an economic development district. Several of you have served on that board as Becker County representatives. Currently, Commissioner Meyer is newly appointed to that board and attended our first meeting about a month ago. So that role that we play as a planning agency, a regional development organization, in the absence of the RDC that served in the 80s, primarily gives the counties in our 9-county service area access to federal grant resources through the Economic Development Administration and other federal funding opportunities, because we do regional planning. And that regional planning is primarily executed through a 5-year plan that we develop for the 9-county service area and the portion of White Earth Nation that we share. And that is called the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, which lays out goals, strategies, and objectives for advancing economic development in the region. And so economic development is broadly defined. It varies from community to community based on size of the community and initial goals and things that those communities are wanting to accomplish. But overall, we're seeing the greatest focus of economic development is not just attracting businesses and bringing new businesses into the communities, which is a very big, large role in economic development that is still needed, but it's also addressing housing challenges for the workforce. It's childcare, quality and quantity of childcare, so people who want to be in the workforce can have their kids well taken care of. And also, we work in just attracting workforce, so welcoming newcomers, having able and well-trained, educated workforce and entrepreneurs living and working in our service area in our region. And then, not last or least by any means, but adequate infrastructure, including broadband and sewer and water. Those are kind of the 4 things that roll up as the top priorities for economic development that we focus on as a regional organization, and then work hand in hand with the communities on their own economic development objectives as well. We also offer transportation planning as kind of a roll-up with partnership with Department of Transportation here at the state, with District 4 as part of advancing that work as well in community. And so we are working on an update to that 5-year plan. We owe that to the Federal Economic Development Administration in December of 2027 to go in, or December 2026 to go in effect January 1st of 27. So community engagement and studying statistics and kind of the data that help drives those decisions is one of the things that we work with. But also I wanted to talk about, before I pause for any questions, is kind of the investment that West Central Initiative has brought into Becker County. Primarily, we like to focus on these meetings, just the quick kind of financial, what has grants and loans looked like for Becker County over the last 18 months. So there's been $1.6 million of grants and loans from West Central Initiative into Becker County nonprofits, businesses, communities for the last 17 months. Those that I've seen directly working with my team on deploying has been the Main Street Revitalization Grant Program along the Highway 10 corridor. There were 7 businesses that received a total of $434,000 for their redevelopment projects, for their updating buildings and construction related to those businesses. Last year, we delivered our first phase of the Promise Act grant program. 8 businesses in Becker County received that. grant. That was a highly competitive grant program, 451 applications. We awarded 52. So there's $155,000 that went to Becker County businesses amongst those 8 grants. And then we've had 1 loan. Loan activity is picking up. It was pretty quiet for a while. If you talk to the bankers in the last year, things at the beginning of the last year were very quiet just in general. And so we felt that too, but we did have one $120,000 loan for a Detroit Lakes business that's redeveloping downtown here. So that's just kind of the highlights. I know we're kind of pushing against some time limits here, so happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I will turn it over to Rebecca for her portion.
Sound like when I was at the legislature testifying, the alarms went off. You done talking? Musical.
That was my cue, yeah.
That was your musical cue to be done. So.
Good timing.
You know me well.
That's okay. All right, thanks, Denise.
Yeah.
At first, I was afraid it was me because my watch will do that sometimes, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I shut that off. But anyway, well, greetings, and now we know that the full house wasn't here for our report. We're glad that you stuck around. And as you know, every year we come and we like to thank you for your past support and talk about the return on investment, which Greg has mentioned. And so the explanation of the check is something that one of our coworkers, Rick Shera, cooked up because we're going into our 40th year anniversary. And so every county and city we visit, we like to show you what we've reinvested in your community or your county since we were born in 1986. So since that time, over $15 million in grants and loans. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of those grants also come from the community funds that you have in some of your communities that we host at West Central Initiative. And they raise money and then they reinvest it into the communities in which they live and serve. So we do have another fairly important fund here with Becker County. It's the Early Childhood and Care Fund that you help set up and we help set up, and also the early childhood people to help with some of those extra expenses because it's expensive. So yes, so we hope that you're seeing the return on your investment in us. And just for the record, this isn't where we ask you for a dollar amount, and I know that this is a tricky year for everybody, but we'll send that letter so you can discuss it when we're not here. That makes it more comfortable for you and for us, but then I'll send it to city staff. And
Easier to say no if you're not here.
well, we're afraid of that, but we also know that you've been very generous, and so you'll do what you can, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Mary. So the document in front of you is our annual report. Lots of times we drop off a folder and, you know, it's got lots of papers in it. And we just thought everything is pretty well described in here from the past year. And then you can, like, when you're done with it, put it on somebody else's coffee table to spread the good word about all the work happening. We do have a couple of board members from Becker County. Jackie Buboltz serves on our WCI board as well as our Economic Development District Board. And Jacob MacArthur representing White Earth Nation. We've added several new staff. I'm starting in the back of the book and flipping forward. And then a list of grant recipients from last year. Thank you to all of our contributors. These folks contribute directly to West Central Initiative. If we had a list of all of the people who contributed to our over 200 funds, we would have to print a separate book. But and of course, the city of Detroit Lakes is in here and the county of Becker County. Thank you for that. And yeah, you mentioned Dick Heacock, and he was a good supporter of our work as well. So I was sorry to hear that. And then lots of ways in my work and the rest of the team's work in philanthropy, encouraging generations of generosity. We know you don't have to be a millionaire to be a philanthropist. I heard a great story last night from the mayor of Elbow Lake that for their splash pad project, one of the kids wondered, well, why can't we have a swimming pool? Why a splash pad? Well, because we can't afford a splash pad, let alone a swimming pool. And the kid dug in his pocket and took out all of his change and said, well, I hope this will help. So that was pretty sweet. And then just a little bit about thriving communities. Greg talked about our early childhood work. We also do a lot of work in transportation, safe routes to schools, and in agriculture and sustainable ag, as well as economic development, which Greg spoke of quite at length. And we do rural belonging work, so we've done some activities during Welcoming Week in Becker County. Rural democracies, so we train people for how they run for office, not necessarily trying to put you out of a job. But we know that some of our mayors have been in office for over 25 years, so. And then we continue to work on our strategic long-range plan. So there's a one-pager. If you ever need an elevator speech, it's really hard to say in 5 minutes everything that we do, but it lists about 17 or 18 programs that we offer in addition to grants and loans. So that's the sort of short, sweet version of the year in review. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for either Rebecca or Greg? Thank you very much for being patient with us and for coming to, I appreciate it. Like they said, I just joined not the West Central District, but the other board. And I didn't know what to expect. And it was very interesting.
Well, we were very happy with you and your participation.
Yeah,
We had
I
lots of good
sometimes talk
questions.
too much.
No, you were great. It was great.
Don't encourage.
Mr. Chair, one touch point for these guys, they're component funds, they're donor advised funds. So we did fundraising for those out at Dunlocks, those ADA compliant tables. Well, these guys handled the financial funds for Melissa Saleh and one other organization. The checks came from these guys. So to do a donor advised fund through West Central Initiative is a big deal. And that's how I've been associated with what you guys, one of the aspects of something you do. So
Thank you,
for that.
Commissioner Hanson. You and I played phone
Yeah, we did.
tag,
We were trying to get.
But I'll send you all a copy through your staff of our almanac, which was the event that we had on May 1st. So, great.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
I'm on the Lake Park Audubon I was on the founding Lake Park Audubon Legacy Fund for the school for fundraising, so we have an account through them.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Mr. Kent Wolf from the.
I'm going to give this check to Mary so we can get this in the bank.
Deposit that.
Yeah, please come up. Yep. Thank you for being patient with us too.
Okay.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm here today for looking for a formal resolution on the heritage funds, which in Becker County, it's 200 acres of land that the DNR has been working for a good number of years to acquire. It was originally potlatch land that was purchased by the Conservation Fund, and then the Conservation Fund looked at trying to keep that land in public hands and worked with the counties, tribes, state government to make that happen. I believe the county acquired the lands that they were looking for, and there were 200 acres of land that fit well with the adjoining DNR lands. We went through the process of working with the townships to get their support, and then we came to the board, I think in 2023, and got a letter of support, and this is the final step where we're looking for that formal resolution on that. I don't know if you have any questions on it or.
I would like to see the map of where it is again, but I tell you, this conversation is going a lot better than it could have if the governor's proposal would have went a different way.
And we all feel that, I mean, definitely.
Very explain.
Though the governor had bill payments cut.
Oh, right, okay, all right.
So there's, and I'll hand this up to you here. I didn't have it up there.
Can you just say the?
Yep. So there's,
No, just pull it up on the screen for the GIS. Just put the parcel number.
Do we have the parcel number?
I have parcel number right here. So there's one parcel in Two Inlets Township. Are you ready for the parcel number?
I'll write it down. Won't help Peggy, I guess.
Peggy's probably a little smarter.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, parcel number 3401-35100.
You want to do the,
Yeah, GIS and parcel data.
yep. That's the one.
In the search, just go under. Anyway, I guess it's no.
And I can hand you this if you want. It shows, I got all the parcel numbers, aerial photo, plat map. And then I also had on there the estimated land values. This is a little bit old, and the estimated PILT payments on there, and that was old. And then I have, in case you guys were curious what the PILT payment would be estimated, in Becker County, $9.86 per acre. So that ends up being, it's 199.71 acres, so we'll call it 200. $1,969.64 PILT payment per year.
How does that add up? That is 200, almost 200 acres times 10 is 2,000.
1,900.
Oh, 900. I thought you said
Yeah,
1,000.
1,900.
Oh, maybe I said, either way, 1,900.
So 2,000.
Yep.
I'm a rounder.
Yep. Well, if I round it up, then I'm.
Yeah.
But, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking for that formal resolution.
And with Potlatch, what was our tax rate? Did you have that? Potlatch. What was it? Potlatch and?
Well, they got a special tree growth tax, so it's less than half of a regular tax, and then everything was sold to this land trust.
I know that land trust didn't have to pay, but I thought Potlatch had to pay. Potlatch hasn't paid taxes?
Well, the Becker County stuff that was turned over to the conservation fund has been exempt.
That would have probably just been for the last 2 or 3 years.
So anyway, we can agree it was less than what the PILT paid.
So, yeah, I have in 21, I had what the taxes were paid. They paid on this one parcel,
Yeah.
the PILT payment would have been $300 more on it, because
Okay.
I knew you'd be curious in that. I would be
Yeah.
too, you know, so the PILT payment would be more, and this was in 2021, because I can't.
Yeah,
I mean, I
they
don't have it.
I think, at this time I'd make Phil, you have a question?
Since we're going down on this PILT payment, we got a lot of people here.
Yep.
So PILT payment is payment in lieu of taxes.
Yep.
So that is a payment that they paid, but they didn't pay tax.
No.
Mary's saying they didn't pay
No.
tax on the land.
PILT payment is the state.
Yeah,
State pays.
so if the state owns it, the state pays the county a payment in lieu of taxes, because the state doesn't pay taxes on that land, so they pay a payment that's a set
Okay, so
rate.
Mary, you said we didn't receive any tax
I don't
money
think
on
that's
that land.
accurate. Only in the interim.
Prior to that, yes, it would have been taxed, but it was not taxed at the regular rate. Potlatch has a lower tax rate than real estate.
Steve, do you agree?
Well.
Is that how that
I don't know.
works? I'm trying to figure out what the moving parts are here, because I've heard a whole bunch of
Well, Potlatch is the big timber.
forester.
And they had according to Mary, they had a lower tax rate for, must have been legislative approved.
Real estate, but they paid tax on the timber.
Anyway,
Got it, yeah.
without
Anyway.
getting into that, because that's a whole topic that not many of us understand or know the tax rate for that. But when they sold it to was it Nature Conservative or it's a
Conservation Fund.
conservation group, just like they were holding it as a nonprofit, trying to get this land in public hands. They did not pay taxes.
They
but
took
were
the
not-
timber off it, and then they tried to give it to this conservatorship so they didn't
No,
have to
they
pay
went,
tax? Was
well,
that?
they went out of,
So Potlatch managed the land for, I'll say 50 years, I don't know the number, but they were managing the land, they owned the land, they paid the taxes, and then Potlatch decided to get out of the land business. So they were going to wholesale sell their lands. They had 72,000 acres that they sold, and they sold it to this conservation fund. The conservation fund purchased it, and with the plan to keep it in public hands, but to work to get it to the different counties, to the state government. So Potlatch no longer owns the land, the conservation fund owns it, and the state is in the process of purchasing their share of it, and we need your support to do
Who
that.
funded the conservation purchase? Who's
The Conservation Fund is a nationwide organization.
government or individual?
No, it's a
Nonprofit
nonprofit.
organization.
Yep.
Kind of like the land for public trust.
Yeah, the
So
land,
Potlatch donated, they got the tax.
No,
They sold it.
Potlatch sold it.
It was their land. It was
Okay.
Potlatch.
Yep, Potlatch
However they
sold it
purchased
to the
Now this
conservation.
conservation group is giving it out to.
They're not giving it,
They're
the
selling it.
Conservation Fund's gonna
They're
sell
selling
it. So the Conservation Fund had a goal of selling that land within 10 years, and they're gonna meet that goal.
The county
Then why are we
purchased-
accepting it without paying anything for it?
This is the DNR.
So the DNR is
paying for it.
is
Their
paying
land.
for it.
Third.
What we're looking for from the county is a letter of support to say, yep, we support the DNR purchasing that land.
So every time the DNR is looking to buy land, they come to the county for support. Because if they don't get county support, they have to go to another process to get this approved. Isn't it the auditor and the governor and the secretary of state?
In this instance,
It's a different,
some of the funding is RIM, Reinvest in Minnesota funding. And when RIM funding is used to purchase land, in the county that it's purchased, you need the county support or that RIM funding will.
Mitch, is this a good thing to do for the county? Okay, I thought we were getting it.
no.
Yeah,
You
I see that now.
did, you
I see
did,
it.
the county did get some of it, so the county chose the parcels they want.
That was the one we did a couple months ago?
Yes.
we actually
couple
did
meetings?
two
Okay.
parcels, I
Two
think.
parcels.
And
But
Yeah.
we're
I'll sit down
getting,
with you sometime. I don't want to waste
Yeah.
any more time.
but we will
on
be
this.
getting payments for this.
Yep.
All right, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2D?
We have a motion and a second.
We have a motion, very second by Phil. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
happy to talk
Can
to
you
you.
leave your card
You
in
bet.
your office or something? I just.
Do you want to continue or do you want to?
I would like to get Denise done,
Okay,
and then we will take a break.
okay.
So Denise, please come up. We're going to talk about number 8, 9, and 13 on the consent agenda.
She did send it to me. I must have put the two, yeah, must have put the same one in twice.
Yeah, this is it, right?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
I noticed that too, but then I kind of just forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
I started reading the second one, and it was the same. I thought it was a double, and then I didn't realize there was another.
This is the partnership agreement.
Is this a new, brand new?
It is a new partnership agreement with the Family Resource Center because they are brand new and just organizing. So it's basically to enhance community services and provide resources for families. And it outlines their roles and responsibilities and our roles and responsibilities. No money is changing hands.
Not
So-
in this agreement. In the next one, it's $5,000.
$5,000, yeah.
So one of the things that I think is important to know about Family Resource Centers, it is really important for the county to partner with Family Resource Centers just for them to be successful. So
What is the length of this agreement?
It's continuous after the signing unless we choose at some point to exit.
Can either party can choose to exit?
Correct.
Okay.
With 30 days.
So it's like every other
With 30 days
partnership
notice,
agreement,
but it's
yeah.
continuous.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to revisit it
Is it
each year.
renewed every year?
We
It
do
says
not
this
have to
agreement
renew
shall
it. It's
commence on
automatically
Start date
renewed.
and will continue until end date unless terminated by either party within 30 days of written. But there is no end date?
There is no end date.
What,
You said it was reviewed. Brian, you reviewed it, right?
should we put an end date on it, or do you want to just reword? Well, then it should be reworded so it does
Yeah.
not have an end date on it. Will continue until terminated by either
I
party.
agree with
within
30-day written notice.
It's like,
Where is that at?
it's the second to last page under duration of agreement. I'm fine with that. And the committee recommended it. I can make a motion to approve the partner agreement with Cornerstone.
I'll second.
All right, do we have any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Then Denise, the next one would be,
The Cornerstone agreement is a allocation agreement for a one-time funds that we're providing to Cornerstone in the amount of $5,000. And that's for
and that's,
concrete need-
that was
concrete
just the
needs
same
for
as in the
clients.
packet, yeah.
Yep.
I think that just got pulled because it was doubled.
Yep.
So do we have a motion to approve that one?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
Just a question, that is there a chance to reapply to get another funds?
The
It's a
FFPSA,
one-time,
I think the FFPSA allocation funding is annually, isn't it?
we will
To
get-
us,
So
or to the county.
out of this allocation, it was carryover funds that we had some extra funds to do what we wanted to do with. And we determined that this was a good project and just starting, so that's why we went this way. We could decide to fund more in the future, but this agreement is only for the one time.
Okay.
All right, so we have motion and second. Do we have any more discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And then
Number 13.
page
So
49.
This is the Tri-County Elder Abuse Multidisciplinary Team, MOU. It has been in place. I tried to find a year. I couldn't find one, just more than 20 years. And basically, the only thing that has changed from the last 20 years was that there are a few partners who have exited. And so they changed the agreement based on that. And then also the monthly meetings, the duration used to be 60 minutes. It's now 90 minutes. That's the only difference in the agreement at all.
You don't know what changes were to this agreement and the old one, who entered or exited?
I can tell you exactly who entered, sure. Becker County Attorney's Office has exited. Clearwater County Attorney's Office has exited. Monoman County Sheriff's Office has exited, and White Earth Human Services has exited.
Okay. Does
But
that,
there are still, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 entities that meet monthly for this purpose.
the only other question is, I'm not familiar with it, so I'm sure Sheriff Glander is supportive of it at this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the same other abuse team that
Becker County Sheriff's Department is on it.
Sure, yep, correct.
The Tri-County, Becker, Clearwater, Monoman, and White Earth Nation Elder Abuse Multidisciplinary Team.
Would you like it go to,
become a part until it was around probably 2016, 17, somewhere.
do you want it to go to committee or not? Or are you fine with it?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
The only other question, did we terminate the old agreements? Do they need to come to us, or are they terminated? All the past ones, are they terminated in this a new one? I mean, a new one?
This takes the place of the old.
Okay.
Correct.
Does it state that in there?
Says
I
any
believe so.
MDT partner may terminate their participation with or without cause. Notice will be deemed served on the date notice is received by all partners.
I'm just, make sure we get rid of the old ones when we enact the new one.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm, thank you.
Is there language that says this supersedes something?
No problem.
Just Phil talking. Anyway, just probably make sure that the old ones aren't.
Aren't in effect.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I'll make a motion to approve this memorandum of understanding.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. Okay, motion by Eric, a second by me, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
All right, we will take a 6-minute break, so back here at 10:30. A Zoom,
Resume?
whatever, just, we'll start our meeting again. Re-adjourn our meeting, I don't know if that's a word either.
Where are we at?
We are on Carrie, Administrator
She already
Report.
finished her report, I think.
I just had a couple things to add. I jumped in on the safety committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to update the board. I did attend several of the meetings for Jeff Ziegler. He was the speaker that was brought in, that was sponsored by a few entities for, his title is Revitalize or Die. And we also had an on-site visit with him with some of our staff as well. Adam Douglas and I were guests at the Rotary Club. Adam did most of the speaking with regards to emergency management. I think that went well. And I think the rest of the things are on my agenda here. Flip. So the next item that I had that is listed on here is the Pelican River Watershed Storage Building. I thought it might be helpful just to recap a little bit of history. We've talked about this before, but before we were approached by the watershed, and a couple of the commissioners met through the NRM committee regarding their request to purchase of that building. If you recall, we've talked about some of the history of this before, and there's a need for parking out at Dutton Lock. So the history on that is in 1976, we acquired the 56 acres now known as Dutton Locks. There was a federal grant of $32,850,000, state $16,425, and a local match from Pelican Watershed District for $16,425. On June 10th, 1987, there was a permit for a storage building by the Pelican Watershed. So roughly, was that 10 years later? And then in August of 1987, that's when the building that we now know as the storage building for Pelican Watershed went up. And what I saw on the permit was the cost of that was $5,770. So the committee met with, again, members of the Pelican Watershed, and I can certainly let the commissioners chime in, but they are looking to move from that location to a new location on County Highway 6 and are asking for financial support from the county. The other things that to perhaps take into consideration is that this building was built in 1987, so probably what we would be looking at if we did acquire that building again, I don't think there's any use for that building. It's aged. I think I did the math. I think it's about 38 years old. And there's also, it was an unheated storage building, as well as utilities from what I could find. And when I spoke with Mary, I think the utilities were covered by the county as well. And they did not pay any lease agreements or anything for, they got permission to build the building on the land.
Utilities, there's lights in there? There's electricity in there?
Yes.
I'd imagine the utility bill was.
Probably
Negligible.
minuscule. Yeah, I just wanted to.
There's nothing there except.
No heat.
You're
and there was
only
anything.
paying for the monthly fee, basically.
Basically, a
Or
monthly fee to
service.
have.
Now, Richard and I, we've wanted, as NRM committee, wanted this property, cleared for years now. And we see and of course, as we've evolved, we found out that they had money involved in this property. So my stance evolved a little bit from that we shouldn't pay them anything yes, we do owe them. And we discussed, just previously, we were going to let them keep the building there and put a door and some new paving, or not paving, but new access to it on the north end, which would cost us money anyway, and then we'd still have the building there. Rich and I met with board member Charlie Jaskin, and I think they wanted more, we wanted less, and we did settle in on, we thought a fair number was $30,000. Richard, anything to add to that?
It will make a lot better parking area for, if people are going to use that for any kind of party, they're going to they'll be able to park close to it and carry their stuff. And they do have money in it and have had money in it.
I would like us, I think Carrie's going to talk about a work session for us for building stuff. And I think this bill, if we acquire this, I think short-term and long-term could be different. I mean, I don't know if we need to, I mean, in our time of crunch with all our space needs, it might be a stopgap for some equipment to be stored out there for a while, but I think we need to work through that. I think we need to, whichever way we go, if we use it for a while or move it or demo it, it's property that we need to have. I mean, we should have that availability to do what we want out there, so.
Is the watershed planning on vacating the building either way? Or are they gonna, if let's just say we don't pay for,
I don't know if they would at
Then
this
they
time.
might not.
they might stay? Okay.
Well,
And
and
then
that,
we'd be
the problem is that building's not
No.
most-proof, and nor could, they would have to put a lot of money into it. And they have some expensive boats, and they have some expensive stuff, and you can't just shove it in there.
Well, I think the time, I mean, we want them out.
Yeah, we do.
And just a year ago, I think they were ready to stay, but now they've seen, well, maybe we have a better spot. I think that some of those new storage buildings are better fit for them, actually more convenient for them.
On County 6?
Yep, they're
So-
right there, easy in and out.
If we're either gonna have to put money, we will have to put money into the building to make it accessible for them, or we have to pay $30,000.
Why do we have to put the money into the building to make it accessible for them?
If we block their entrance.
Yeah, if we want to use it for parking, which we do.
Which was
So,
our goal.
we want to keep, oh, you probably weren't there that day, Erica, were you? When we
Where?
looked at the shelters.
Oh, no, I wasn't there.
So we decided to keep the other shelter too, because that's in very good.
No, we did
condition.
not decide to keep the other shelter. We decided that we would consider that.
Oh,
No, we didn't. We decided to keep that shelter. They were looking for specific direction, and I asked all of you out there, and we said we were going to keep that building.
okay.
It's not my
Oh,
interpretation.
okay, well, that's
of
what
a-
I got out
I
of
got
it.
interpreted that.
Either
Okay.
way, we need this parking. It's
I think
close
I'll
parking.
clarify what I'm saying is we did not have any direction on the board agenda that we had any decision-making
No.
on
Yeah.
that site.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we're-
no. there
We
was
did,
not.
we did,
But
but we didn't.
even you were talking about opening it up, so
I said I would like
assumed
opening up
that maybe you
if
were.
it was gonna be.
For, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
I mean, I wasn't at the Dunton Locks tour. I have a hard time paying,
Well-
especially $30,000 for them to move out of county money for Pelican River watershed, which is really, it's not a county-wide service. That's,
I agree with you also. Our other option to block that entrance, because it is their building and they've utilized it and we are partners with them in many things. We will spend $20,000 to retrofit a door on the other side and we'll have to make an approach for that area on the north side. We can have additional parking, but it won't be, I mean, long-term, we will want that building out of there. I think there's access to a fiber optic too that would, if that building wasn't there, it would come through where that building is. So there's numerous benefits. When we started this process, I was exactly the same. This is a Pelican watershed issue and we aren't going to pay anything, but
I was with Barry on that, but I still want that parking. It's very convenient. And, where would this money come from, Barry?
well, we have numerous, I mean, we could use it out of the Parks and Rec Fund, but I would look at using the most restrictive if there was any avenue to reclaim that as a spot. And I asked Carrie to see if we could qualify in the gravel tax. I don't know that we can, but maybe part of it. Mary, quit laughing.
I guess from my perspective, I would like for us to find out how much it would cost to make the improvements for them to stay. And I would not approve anything above what that would cost. I don't think we should be putting any extra money
What was the,
for a building that we're just going to take down.
what was the numbers? They donated or grant matched 16,000.
482.
And then they paid
put the building up.
57 something for the building?
5770.
And that equals what, roughly
22.
22?
Plus, they had no rent for
No
40
rent,
years.
no rent and no electricity's minimal.
Um,
Right.
Can we go Mr. Chair, Richard and Barry, as far as finding the money to pay for this, you feel you can do that with NRM funds?
Well, it can
or-
be on NRM funds. There's,
It can't be from
No,
NRM?
it could be. It's getting skinny, but.
Parks and Rec.
Do we have money in Parks and Rec? That's what we're not,
Our balance is over 100, isn't it?
Steve, it's balancing how important this is compared to some other things. I mean, I don't know, what are the things we got in the hopper that, not trying to spend your budget, but.
Well, we have some annual costs.
Mr. Chair, I move to, I'm going to make a motion to use $30,000 to spend, to pay to the watershed to help them move off the Dunlog site.
Second. Mr. Chair, I would maybe clarify that, just saying for the purchase and abandonment of their rights to the Dunlocks building and area.
So we have a motion.
So amended.
We have a motion, second amendment. Okay, discussion.
I just want to make note,
Yeah.
this isn't just for the purchase. We're going to spend $30,000 to purchase the building, and how much are we going to spend to get rid of the building?
Well, we're gonna try and give it away.
I mean, we can try,
Mr.
but
Chair,
we just got done saying this is a building that isn't in good shape.
Well, actually, it's worth salvageable. It is salvageable. The rafters are good, the tin is good. Now, if you want, the big thing is to keep rodents out of it. And it would cost a lot of money to keep rodents out of that old building, so that's part of the problem. And it's in a bad spot. And that would really be a nice parking area.
Mr. Chair, I've made some inquiries about moving that, and I do have someone who is interested.
I would like to say that coming into this from finance, I was not in support. But listening to Barry and Richard, because I know you guys weren't in support originally.
No, we weren't, but.
And I think I understand now what we need to do, so I am in support now. I've changed my mind. I don't like paying $30,000.
Well, you can say 30,000, but we're paying probably an additional $10,000 to get that to get them completely abandon their rights and any building on.
Yeah.
So
and I know we want to utilize that property.
And I think the key is abandon any rights or claims to the property.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, they have to accept that as well. The watershed does. I mean, this isn't a done deal. They have to accept their end of it, correct?
And they will, because they really want a new building for their new boat. They don't want rodents in their boat.
It's just, it seems like such a change. I mean, it wasn't but 2-3 months ago we were here and they were asking us to not ask them to leave. And now they're approaching us, asking us to give them money to leave. So
part of it changed when I really looked at, we are short of parking out there.
Mhm.
And I think about my mother carrying a casserole down the hill, because that's where the other parking's gonna be. And
Or up
so-
the hill.
Or up the hill. And so I don't know. And it's, yeah.
When I went out there too, I looked and I realized that we do need that for parking pretty immensely. Yeah.
The other thing to consider is what the value of a parking space is, like in the city limits, or, what we get charged from the city for one parking space if we can't adequately. Well, when we did the courthouse, it was $15,000 per spot that we were short. Back recollection, what did we pay, Mary, for the shortcoming of this parking lot? $450,000 because we couldn't come up with enough parking spaces so that's what we paid the city for parking spaces. So Parking is a commodity. Sorry, Carrie.
Mr. Chair, I just have two comments, if I may. For the funding for this, when Mary and I met on this, we do have some fund balance in the local and tribal, the legacy, that fund.
Okay.
So potentially that could come out of that fund, A. And then there was a request by Steve and by Mitch with regards to if this is approved and we do move forward on this, that, obviously we put some timelines on this and we would like to do this, have them vacate, and we can certainly work with them moving to their new location sooner than later. So, because they do need the parking. Did I capture that correctly? Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
I think the motion and second, maybe we should clarify that this offer is good to accept for so long, and then maybe put a deadline when they should close to be out of the premises, maybe.
Okay.
What is your, how many?
They should
30
accept
days?
on it within, what's their next meeting, or?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh, well, we have to give them more than tomorrow.
Well, yeah, they would,
Yeah.
Maybe they have it on their agenda, but give them
45 days?
maybe July 1.
the June meeting, yeah, July, accept or denied July 1 and be out within 60 days. Is that,
Okay.
Well, if they're going to,
close within, or get out of there within 60 days after acceptance?
When is their June meeting? Is it,
third Wednesday,
so maybe say, hey, that's the day they accept or deny, and then they have to be out by 60 days after that?
By their third meeting in June.
I don't know why we got to give them 60 days. I mean,
For
it's pulling
30
a
days.
boat down County 6. There's nothing, I mean,
Well, if they get a place to put it.
They have to-
We're being generous.
They have to secure the.
30 days after that,
30 days? We can do
45 days.
We just want it sooner than.
We just
later.
want to have a
Just don't want it
timeline,
Yeah.
so it's not
Just
on.
having a date so
Yeah,
that
an end date finalized. They'll do it right away, I'm sure.
Yeah.
okay, what are the dates? How many days are we?
July 1 and August 1.
All right, so amended.
Okay. And is that good with the second? All right. All right. So we have a motion and a second with that amendment. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I
All right, motion carries.
All right, Mr. Chair, I was hoping that I'd have better updates on legislative matters. However,
Doesn't really
as,
appear so, huh?
yeah, no, not so much. Since early this morning, as you probably all know, there was not a budget.
kind of sounds like they took the day off yesterday.
Yeah, they
And,
did.
well, yeah, the
That was a
last
very
message
nice
I had was early in the morning was that, yes, so it looks as though a special session will be coming. So I don't have a lot. There were some, and I do have a list of some bills, budget bills that did go, that were forwarded onto the governor for consideration for signature, and then budget bills that are outstanding, if anybody, and I can certainly send you out a list if you would like that. So that's really all I have on legislative updates. The last item that I have is regarding the board approving a financial planning strategy session and a contract with Ryan Seeger. I have been communicating with him, and he would like to come on site all day a week from today. I believe the date is May 27th.
Yep.
And I do have a tentative schedule. I haven't sent that out to department heads or to you all, because what I would like to do is schedule a special session for this board for the kickoff at our normal time at 8:15 for 90 minutes. It would really be a work session. Now, I know there was some prior discussion about potentially having a closed session for acquisition of some property. I can certainly piggyback that on that meeting as well if that's needed. So I just would like your consensus that that date will work.
Do we know what time?
8:15.
8:15, and how long are we thinking? for-
I suggested to him 90 minutes.
Okay.
And then I did work with him and put together a tentative schedule that I do have. I just haven't sent it out. It was really what I did was kick off with this board, and then meetings with departments. The bigger departments obviously have some slotted time individually with him. And then I lumped the smaller departments of courthouse in as one. And that pretty much will run us all day. I know there has been some, I know you were suggesting perhaps that you would like to sit through Phil, as far as several of the sessions, and I think that that would be perfect.
I really want this to work. I want this to be successful. I do not want this to be what Barry described as what you, I don't want that to happen. So I'm very vested in this. I think this can really help us. So yes, I would.
So what I would suggest is that we have a special meeting on the 27th at 8:15. And then we also have a closed session at the end of the meeting to discuss number 5 and 6 from Carrie's, the land purchases and leases.
And I just want to.
Or a closed session. Did I say
Well,
special?
yeah, closed session, and I just wanted to, I started this conversation again when we're talking about potential lease agreements. I did briefly talk with Mr. McDonald on the break, and he, if I'm misstating this, please correct me, is with regards to the language and closing and the ability to close meetings. I don't believe we can do it for lease agreements. But he's going to look if we can.
We'll come out and discuss it at that time then, same.
Correct. So either way, it'll be on the agenda, whether or not we can actually talk about what we're going to respond to the RFP as far as a dollar amount. If we can do that in closed session, we certainly, I'll take the direction from Mr. McDonald. If not.
Otherwise, I think at our last board meeting, we did authorize you the authority to negotiate it.
And the other thing that we could do is we could authorize Carrie to negotiate a
It's
lease.
not negotiable, it's a written.
Oh, that's right.
It's a written, and after that meeting, just for clarification,
correct. That's right.
I did get the response, which I included, is that the city made, according to their own policy, they wanted written requests. So they sent out the RFP,
Yeah. They have
which I didn't have that
So
information.
the amount of the lease is in there anyway. We're not hiding anything. So there's thus no need for a
No.
closed session, right?
No, the
Other
problem.
than we may be in competition with others.
The
that
problem
want
is,
the space as well.
we have, it's a request for proposal, so we will we'll have a dollar amount with the proposal, will be public, and then someone after that.
Gives a
can-
dollar more.
Dollar more and they get it.
That's not public.
That's not public. So that's the issue. All right, so is it, do we need a motion to have that meeting next Tuesday, or do
You don't
we?
need a
We just,
motion.
I was just planning on
Consensus?
noticing it.
Okay.
I just
Okay,
wanted to update
we have to
you.
public it?
Yeah.
Do we have to put it in
Yes,
public?
yes. It'll be a special meeting that
Carrie,
we will.
Have you talked about any other leased property that the county owns to lease it out? Is there any opportunities for us to lease any of
I
that
think
out?
there are some. I think it just really depends on how we,
Come out of that meeting?
yes,
Okay.
yes. The last thing I just wanted to put on your radar, we do have an AMC district meeting in Fergus Falls on Friday, June 9th?
Six.
Sixth, sorry,
I believe,
I'm off
yeah.
3 days. And it's in Fergus Falls.
June 6th, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have
8
some
a.m.
legislative updates for that.
I would
I
hope so.
Do we have to public that to?
It is.
It's already,
It's already-
they
so we
publicized it.
can all be
Yeah,
there.
it's already out.
I plan on going.
Okay,
We don't have the agendas up.
All right. So is that it?
that is all I have.
Okay, go
I had
ahead.
one more comment for Carrie, that's something that we've been working on down in Cormorant or on Big Cormorant Lake, Warmauger Beach. There is a community septic system. It's been there. I mean, it's huge. Richard probably been down there and worked on it. They started it when they built this whole beach. It's a community lagoon system. I mean, it's as big as some cities, but we have found, and so they're having problems now that we don't have our documentation that when it started. We have all the everyone adding in all the time, and that's approved. But we don't have that initial, we can't find that initial document. Obviously, it started and we approved it because it's been approved ongoing. So I'm just wondering if there's a way, because now the MPCA covers those open lagoons and they'd be fine if we had that original paperwork, but we can't seem to find it. Now they're wondering if maybe the watershed had it. But what I'm wondering with this board is to be aware of it, and we'd have to work with the attorney's office and administration, but it obviously was a county approved system, and how we can, because we've added on to it 30 times since then, but we don't have that paperwork at this time.
Did you look at the attachments that were sent?
Yes.
Okay,
But there's nothing from the original approval.
Right.
So we're going to still dig a little deeper in the minutes, but I suggested say, well, we can acknowledge that this wasn't approved. It obviously was approved through the zoning administration at that time because we've added on to it as approved to the system. So every time it was added on to, it was approved.
Right.
But we can't find that earlier. So
And there was a study that was done that was included.
I'm just asking or making the board aware that we are looking into how we can acknowledge that this was an approved system back in 1969 or 1970 when that was going on.
And I think that, when I looked at all of that information, and I also spoke with Kyle, and we could certainly ask Kyle when he comes in, but as it was explained to me, is that there's rules today that perhaps weren't in existence back then with regards to these lagoons. So the MPCA, I think that's where the issue is coming from.
Yes, I think they might be exempt, but we have to somehow state that this was an approved system to the specs of the day, not today's.
Yeah, and
You're saying
I
we don't have any record of that.
We don't have that record.
Well, then,
Well, and I think that the question that's coming into play on this particular project is the original, what was approved on this particular system was a certain amount of homes, and then they've continued to be added. So I would assume that that opens the door.
So that's what they want to know is how many were
No.
originally
There's no
approved?
start date.
I don't know exactly what they need to know, but they want to know that it was a approved system when it started.
They're having trouble selling homes down there now.
No, they're not.
Huh? That's what I was told by them.
Well, they're the ones built the home and they can't
And
get
hooked up.
added on until they get something.
Some kind of clearance that it's in compliance.
So that would be maybe where the trouble.
That's where the trouble's coming
Sure.
in.
Okay.
Well, this was
But-
last year that I was.
I would just state that
Probably something different.
we have to figure out what we can, we've been approving these all along and I just want to make the board aware that we might have to say, well, we don't have the documentation where we are sure that it was approved at that date because it was a big development for that day and age. It was huge. Because we've added on to it. We have 30 documents showing we added that house to this.
There's got to be something in a newspaper that has that in it,
Right, and the
Yeah.
study indicates that the proposed lagoon was a better option than all those individual septics.
So anyway,
Okay, let's move on to number 9. We added that resolution 2H to,
Oh, yeah.
so Mary, do you want to?
motion to approve 2H.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion
I
carries.
wasn't ready.
That's right. Motion by Barry, second by Erica. All right, let's move on to human resources. We're not too late.
Good morning. So I have a couple of items in front of you today. The first is a settlement agreement from, there was a grievance filed by LELS Deputies Union for some ambiguous language that was added the last negotiation. So this is to clarify the language and give a one-time lump sum payment to the deputies that did not receive it in the first place, and that was the emergency manager position, the deputy investigator positions, and the positions of bailiff. And then I did hand out the numbers for that one-time lump sum.
We already met in a closed session about this, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
I'll make a motion to approve the settlement agreement.
I'll second that. So any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
The second item that I have before you are some revisions to the benefit committee bylaws that was originally established in 2022 and has not been updated since. So since then, originally it was put under the county administrator, and Carrie and I did have a conversation on this and felt it was better aligned under the HR department because benefits truly do fall there. As well as adding in, we have had a new union added since then, which is the LELS Essential Administrators. So adding that. And then would like to update our appointments that the board appoints to the committee as well. I did reach out to everyone that we currently had appointed that were still here because there have been some people that have left since. And it was determined that only one position wanted to stay appointed to the board, and that was Jessica Wiedemeyer. Then I reached out to Tony Bamer, I think. He is in IT. He would like to be appointed as well. And then for the department head and supervisors, Brent Brislin, Holly Danielson, and Jonah Jacobson were the 3 that I reached out to there as well.
Do you need motion to appoint them after the agreement or not?
Correct. So these positions are supposed to be appointed by the county board.
So we want to amend the policy and then appoint.
Then
Correct.
appoint the people.
Yes.
And then the representatives from each collective bargaining unit, we do not appoint.
Correct,
They
yes. I
appoint.
have reached out to each of the unions to clarify their appointments because those also have not been updated since this was originally established. I've heard back from the majority of the unions, but I'm waiting on a couple.
Okay, so first, what we need to do is approve the
Revision.
bylaws,
Yeah.
revisions.
do we-
So make a motion to approve the revisions to the
So
bylaws.
Do we have a motion by Erica? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, second by Barry. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
Then
Now,
we need a motion to
Appoint.
appoint
Should we
those.
just list those again?
Yep, so department head supervisor appointments, Brent Brislin, Holly Danielson, and Jonah Jacobson.
Okay.
And then non-supervisory, non-bargaining, Tony Bamer, I think. I'm going to say Bamer. He's from IT. And then Jessica Wiedemeyer.
Do we also need to add you two commissioners that are on that too?
Yeah, Barry and I are on it.
Yeah.
That's already established,
Okay.
so I wasn't bringing that forward.
All right, do we have a motion to approve those department head appointments and
So moved.
non-supervisor? All right, we have a second. I'll second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, Steve and Mitch.
Morning.
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 The items today, first two are accepting donations for improvements out at Mountain Knox County Park. Resolution 05252E is accepting, the correction on that. We have 2 donations, providing funds for shelter renovations to the VFW shelter there. Lake Region Veterans Color Guard donated $1,500. And then also Lake, it says on here, Lake West Sally Foundation for $1,500. That should be included on the following donation list for the tables. And we have accept this donation from Lake Region Veterans Color Guard for $1,500.
I'll move to accept the resolution 5252E with moving the Melissa Sally Association to the other resolution.
So we have
Second.
a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
I'll move to accept the resolution 05252F with the addition of the Melissa Sally Association for the donation to the picnic tables.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I would like to list off those names. So it's from the Detroit Lakes Breakfast Rotary Club for $1,500, the Detroit Lakes Lion Club for $1,000, the Detroit Lakes Area Community Foundation for $3,000, the Rotary International for $750, and then the Lake Melissa Sally Foundation for $1,500. Is that okay with the motion?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion?
What's in the resolution?
It's in the
Already listed.
resolution. It doesn't matter. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Last item is resolution changing the pay scale for the seasonal tram operator from $20 an hour to $21 per hour.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to increase the pay scale for the tram operator at Dunlocks County Park from $20 to $21.
2G.
2G.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
I think we should clarify before you two guys leave about the old shelter there, Barry. I mean, I gave direction, I thought we gave direction to these guys to look for some windows to see how to fix up the old shelter out there.
I think we gave direction to
Yeah.
bring us back some costs.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all we did.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to
It
further the
ultimately-
discussion
it
then.
Ultimately needs to, anything needs to come and
Back
be
through committee.
approved. Committee and approved at the board level before we can make any decisions.
Okay.
So
Why are we doing this if there's a potential for tearing down the shelter? Why would we even do that?
We're not
Just-
tearing down the shelter this time.
Okay, so then if we're not tearing down the shelter, are we going to leave the shelter there?
I think we bring back a proposal and cost estimates on what different options would be, and then we decide.
Mhm.
It was my understanding when we were out there that the reason to go out there was to consider and look at that. I mean, I was under the understanding that that shelter was going to stay. I didn't know we needed to vote on that.
It was to consider and look at it, but then we need to come back and vote on it.
Then we need to vote on it here, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think there's options available, and I think they were pointed out if you want to, because how you want to open that end up, if you want to keep it open or put windows or keep it all open. I think those, and we need to find out those costs on if you can take it completely apart, but.
So Commissioner Nelson, the shelter is not coming down. It may be renovated because, I mean, we just approved the Veterans Color Guard to spend $1,500 on something in that shelter.
We accepted a donation for improvements on it, yes. I don't know if it was for the old shelter. Did it specifically say the old shelter?
New shelter's built. Yeah, I really feel like I'm in the mud here because I've kind of told you guys that that shelter was going to stay. I thought we all talked about that out there except Erica.
I think it's.
I'm with you,
Well,
Phil, but
I didn't know there was a chance that.
well,
I think the discussions happened very well out there, and I think everyone saw I think there's disagreement on how they stay.
Yeah, I think I think my interpretation is that we all want it to stay.
it's just how
How are
do
we
we
going to have
improve
it
it?
stay?
What does it look like?
What does
Yes,
it
and
look
that's what
like?
we need to find
That's fair.
out, and then we'll vote.
And the
on it.
price, I
Yeah, and the
think,
price,
is
yeah.
really
Okay,
what's up
all
in the
right.
air.
I'm good with that.
All right. Then nothing else for you two. Thank you. Mr. Sheriff Klander.
Morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have 2 items related to the same subject. First one is I'm requesting to sell our 2012 Yamaha ATV public auction. And with that goes into number 2, but I guess I need permission to sell it first.
I would probably get to buy one first before you sell your old one, but. I think the discussion was, with the grant monies available that have to be spent, it should be it should not cost us anything or very minimal with the difference between the grant funds and the sale price of the old one.
Yeah, it should be.
I have $5,601.93 in our ATV grant that we need to use by the end of June 30th. With that, the average retail on the 2012 Yamaha is $5,185. I also have money budgeted for an ATV.
We're hoping to save money budgeted though.
That's why we'd like to do it.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to sell the 2012 Yamaha ATV at public auction and request or to purchase the 2025 Sportsman 570 for the low quote.
$990.
From Okeson
Off to, yeah.
I'll second.
We have motion second. Do we have any more discussion?
Just to be clear, if those funds don't cover it, to take out of the budgeted line item.
Yep. Is that good with the seconder?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
As amended.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
or
That's fine.
Mr. Chair, Todd, do you have a list of all of the items, other than squad cars, all of the things we have? Do you got a list? Is that easily attainable? I'd like to see the list of all the things we have, the accessories. Do we have that?
Are you like the accessories for the equipment or the equipment?
Inventory, not like squad cars. I'm talking about like the things we bought.
Trailers,
out in-
trailers,
No,
boats.
not toys. These are not
I'm
toys.
just kidding.
These are accessories. But do we have a list of all that? I'd like to see that at some point.
I don't, Mary sends out a list every year as far as.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Todd.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning. Kyle.
Kyle, we were just touching base earlier on that Warmonger Beach septic lagoon system. Have we found anything that for original yet?
I sent them a heck of a document, I guess.
He's reviewed it, I think, at all, and there was only, and then your office sent a couple more sheets in there. But
Who was it sent to?
the gentleman in charge of the Warmonger Beach lagoon septic system, they have a little board.
Okay.
But have we looked in the minutes from the board minutes from back and then?
I believe in that correspondence.
Was there some board minutes?
I have to double check. There was, staff put together a timeline all the way from the 70s. But I don't want to call it irrelevant, what happened in the 70s, but the bottom line is the state is in charge of that, and if they find that lagoon non-compliant, there's really nothing the county can do to stop that.
Right, but all we can do is say that this was an improved system in the day, for the day standards.
Right, and even if it wasn't, or these people, some of them have hooked up illegally, or some of them haven't hooked up illegally. I've had correspondence with the MPCA. Basically what they told me is that they're gonna make an exception for the current house that was built, they're gonna allow him to hook up, then they're gonna have dialogue with that beach on improving that septic.
Okay, thank you.
Upgrading it?
What's that?
Upgrading the current septic?
I'm gonna guess, it's 54 years old, so it's probably.
Run its course.
I don't know the cycles of lagoon systems. I don't know how they operate. So.
And I don't want to make assumptions that it's not going to pass, but it did that way because again they said they would make exception. But so the state gets involved anytime you have over 10,000 gallons per day flow. Normally you would have that on like a very large restaurant, apartment store or something. So normally that stuff is all going to be in the city. So where we run into that is a community system such as this, which this one, I think if we averaged it at like 3 bedrooms and 39 homes, it's like 17,000 gallons per day. There's only like there's probably about 3 of these that I can think of.
Fern Beach one?
Ravenswood, Hill, Park Place is probably over it.
Yeah.
And then a few trailer courts. But at the 10,000 gallon threshold, we're completely out of it. So again, I don't want to make assumptions that they're going to have to improve it.
No, we just want to provide them with what information we have.
And we did do that.
We can, yeah, we'll keep working. Yeah, it's for that Warmonger Beach one, so. Thanks. Thank you.
All right, let's go on to.
Okay, at the last zoning ordinance advisory committee meeting, which was Wednesday the 7th, we had a discussion on how amendments get to that group. I'll explain that group to a few of you because you've never been a part of it. The zoning ordinance advisory committee is made up of 5 members, 1 from each of your districts. They are appointed by you. And basically their task is to review and vet amendments to the zoning ordinance. They convene at leisure.
I don't consider it leisure.
Yeah, right. But again, so we had some topics there. Obviously, some topics are going to be less controversial than others. But basically what the group had asked, or they tabled the last conversation was in regards to lake lot size classifications. What the group directed me to do was come before you and see how you would like to proceed now and in the future with amendments that would be more probably significant in nature. So just looking for that direction. The ordinance does say for text amendments, who may request one. A petition can come from a real property owner, doesn't say where, but I would assume Becker County, but it says of actual property, a recommendation of the county planning commission or the county board. Ordinance does outline how and where those recommendations are to take place. The planning commission is a designated body to hold the public hearing, and their recommendation is to be sent to you. And it takes 4/5 of this body to enact an amendment. So it takes a supermajority.
Well, I think some of the things that are on this, I felt this board has to be behind the change before we do all the work to bring back here. I mean, because it's a lot of work. And if you remember, I told you at our last meeting, this is big. This is big. This project is significant. So I don't know, through this whole comprehensive plan and ordinance review, I think we've went in a couple circles myself. I don't think we've accomplished much with the money that we spent. We've got a comp plan that has changed some things, I think, for the better, so we can do some administrative things maybe. Is that accurate to say? Instead of, but we have not addressed the ordinances. The ordinances now are coming before us. We wanted addressed 4 or 5 specific things, specifically penalties for shore impact zone use, bed and breakfast, feedlots was one of them, and solar and wind. I mean, so those things were the things we wanted to get ahead of, and we haven't. I mean, we've done a couple of them because they were right in front of us. We had to do something.
Yeah, I think we did the feedlot one, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, it's just that when we're looking, I mean, now we're in the the DNR standards, and the first ones we went through, we're trying to marry what we have into the blueprint of the DNR's, the state's minimum requirements. And I thought the first one, we included things that made us more restrictive, which were good fits. I think everyone had a good feeling of those. And then we came to the second meeting, and now we're looking at lot sizes and specifically environmental lakes. But these are significant changes, and these will be, the public will have a lot of input on these. So I feel, and I think the board members agreed, that this board has to direct that if you want these addressed or not. And
Mr. Chair, just Barry and I sit on this committee. Barry, I recognize your experience. You've been through this before. To me, I think should be coming, the direction should be coming from Kyle. Hey, you guys need to consider this. These are some things I'm seeing on the front line in the county. If we're going to make some changes, which has to be approved by 4/5, I'm thinking it should be coming from there. What is wrong with that? Because he's the one who's on the front line seeing all of this.
well, Kyle is certainly, the zoning official from way back has always brought things that are prudent to efficiencies within the office to change, so we make those better. This rises to a level, this is a policy, this is a policy.
Zoning ordinance, yeah.
A zoning ordinance policy that is significant enough that if you're going to change it, you're going to have a lot of people talking to you about it.
Well, currently,
I don't think some of these are opinions. This lot size is an opinion. Now, you can back it by science and technology saying it's good, or you can back it by, you're infringing on, property rights. This is not an administrator saying, well, this will make it, easier for me in the office.
Yeah.
This is policy. The department heads are not responsible for directing policy. This is policy.
I think the difference here is typically the zoning ordinance would be Kyle bringing us something saying, hey, we're seeing a lot of variances for this. Can we consider this? What you're saying,
and
Barry,
he brings those too.
Keep going.
what you're saying, Barry, is this is something we want, addressed in our comp plan that we need to bring forward and have,
I-
well,
I-
we're not bringing anything to Kyle. We're bringing it,
How are you going to know what to bring to our boards? I mean, Kyle's the one on the front line that knows what's going on out there.
I have one question before we keep going. Currently, right now, the public meeting is at planning and zoning.
the planning commission.
And I think, and we think, or I don't know, your perspective is the public meeting should be here.
No. Well, I'm fine with, do you want to go down this road do you want to change the lot sizes on mostly environmental lakes? If you want to have the board look, or have the committees and the process to go through the process to, I speculate, reduce the lot sizes on environmental lakes, then we say, yes, we agree with this. I said it to me, I said, I don't know which way I feel. I mean, it can, but this is such a significant policy change. It should be coming, you should be aware of this before it comes on your back door
Yes.
and saying, now you got people calling you and you don't understand what they're asking.
You should, but just as I stated, the first mechanism is a petition from the public.
That's one option.
That's an option.
That's one option.
Right, but anybody who asks, and for Commissioner Jepson has an individual in hers that's been asking for a height deal forever. Height can be very controversial around lakes. I can tell you that, but so when do we determine, I can't stop him from, I can't come here and ask you because he's already asked, and it should have to be considered now by ordinance.
Well, if he's contacted this board, it's considered.
No, I mean, he sends me it, and by ordinance, we have to consider it. You don't get to approve that, is what I'm saying.
Where does this have to be considered?
Right in I just read
Who
it.
has to consider it?
Planning Commission.
Does it state the planning commission or the ordinance committee? Because we've ixnayed a lot of them at ordinance committee.
I just read it, and it's Planning Commission. I outlined who may do it, and how, and where it goes. And then ultimately where it ends up, and what the majority is.
I don't know, but the intent of that is not to have everyone being able, 30,000 people submit a letter and it has to take time at planning and zoning meeting.
I think it probably is. I think your constituents should be able to probably, if myself, if I would like something considered, I'd hope somebody would.
Well, you certainly have an avenue to come to the board or come to discuss it,
Right.
but you do not have a chance to be on the formal agenda just because one person puts out a saying, I want wakeboards eliminated from all lakes.
Well, right now, that's the way it is. That's all I'm saying.
so this lot size on environmental lakes, how did this come about?
So we looked at the DNR model shoreline ordinance with the chairman of the advisory committee, who is Scott Walls, Roger Hemphill, DNR hydrologist, and Ed Clem. And I met with them in maybe January, February at the beginning of this, and they suggested that we look at this model shoreline ordinance. Well, with the change from Pelican River and giving us back that authority, it seemed like a good time to review our shoreline rules. So the DNR model shoreline ordinance is 28 pages. So the first meeting, we looked at vegetation alterations and land alterations.
Bluffs.
And then the direction of the committee was to look at the next section, have me show them where we differ from the state and put it in a document, and that's what I did. So we're going to look at it section by section. And the next one just happened to be this.
I think what was done, we tried to incorporate, and that one fit very well, but I just want to make sure this board's aware. These are significant changes that will fill this room up if you want to change them, and if you drastically want to change them. I mean, I don't think these are, but we're at a time now that our rules, I think we're going to have more staff in planning and zoning, because I think we're going to take on more enforcement and more checking with the Pelican watershed. And
Where do you think that public meeting should be then? I mean,
the process is already set. That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, is this something, how we want to go about it? Is this a subject that you want to change? Do you want to go down from a 350-foot requirement on a Tier 3 environmental lake down to 200 feet, or have the committee look at that and with some restriction, with changes to, this board has to say, I think this should be reviewed. And I'm fine with reviewing it, but I
So
think
you don't-
guys have to, everyone has to be aware of this before we bring something back to us. And now you're sitting in with a room full of people and you're like, what are we in, what is this for?
Yeah, so the process now is somebody can petition, or Kyle can see something in an ordinance.
Not technically, no, I can't. It's
No.
not even in the ordinance. It's by the general public, by petition, by the planning commission or this board. So the
Well-
advisory committee is not mentioned anywhere in our
So,
planning.
so it comes from
Is
one
that
of
the new
those
comp
three
plan?
spots to go to
It's,
the
this
advisory
is, the
committee.
comp plan is not regulatory, so it's by ordinance.
So those three, where does it go after it comes from one of those three spots? To the planning commission?
Yes.
Okay. So there should be some step, the advice, yeah.
I think we review the process because
Yeah, I think so, too.
I mean, we have a process that we're using. I think if someone has a petition that wants to look at it, I think you come to the board if the board has an appetite for it or not. I mean, if someone wants to ban all boating on every lake in the county, I mean, I think this board can easily say, we're not interested in looking forward.
So I just want to clarify, I understand what you're saying, Gary, is what you think is before the zoning ordinance committee or advisory committee looks at it, it should come to the board to say, this is an ordinance we want to look at. Do you agree that this should be looked at, whether it
If
comes
it's
from the planning
significant.
commission, the petition, or it's us saying, Kyle, the board wants the zoning ordinance advisory committee to look at this ordinance?
Well, I think there's two things here. One, I think the process, is flawed. I think we have to look at that. But
Is that in our ordinance, how the process that you read, is that what's written in our ordinance now?
so I don't think one individual has a right to have an audience at any time. I mean, I don't have a problem and someone coming here open forum and suggesting things or working us to get that. But I think those come from us. If the planning and zoning, I mean, that's a different subject. But I don't know. I didn't want to blindside the board, come and go through this process, and all of a sudden, you are going to be directing.
So if somebody files
Protective of their lake.
Yes.
if somebody files a petition, does it go through your office?
It would. Yeah, I've never seen one, but yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's right or wrong here. I want this board to be.
Mr. Chair, if I may offer just a tidbit of information as well. There was a memorandum that was written in 21 with regards to the duties. This may clarify, this may mud the waters, I'm not sure. Duties of the ordinance committee. And it says the zoning ordinance advisory committee shall review and make recommendations to the county planning commission on their findings on the following applications, text amendments to the zoning ordinance.
But what we're saying is the county board should direct the advisory committee to do that, to go to the planning commission. Is that kind of the?
Well, in
I
the
think so,
past,
yeah.
Significant things would,
Yeah.
board members, and I think that's where the one board member, I think it was meant to be one board member can ask for things to be considered. I don't recall it being one individual, but I don't.
So how do we address, as Kyle mentioned, the height buildings that?
Well, if I may, what I would request is, and what we issued with the RFP for the comp plan was a complete rewrite. That's what was set out in spring of '23, and that was the goal. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to look at this section by section, but that ordinance has been amended, I'm going to estimate 40 times if you look at the front page. It conflicts with each other. It's hard to interpret. It's not very public friendly. And I'm not here to debate Bolton and Minks, how well they did. But the idea was to have both, right? And we didn't get that. So then we wanted to begin that process of again, looking at the entire ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I think the impetus for me as a new member for some of this was with the watershed taking over the rules, I wanted to make sure that the rules, we could handle what was coming before us. And you had said we could. And I think that was what the reasoning why this kind of started. We started reviewing some of these things. Is that still necessary, Kyle?
I think, yeah.
The,
I mean, in many ways, we're more, as I tried to explain, we're more restrictive than the watershed was on vegetation alterations. And I think it needs to be discussed if, you know, the Pelican River, you know, just went through a big rule revision. And that seemed to be, some of that was supported by many people. And if we're going to be much more restrictive than that was just supported and rewrote, I think we should consider looking at it. And some of that falls in line with the shoreline ordinance. So.
do you anticipate mapping every lake annually from the shoreline, from the boat access? Do you do that currently?
No, if you'd like, we certainly can.
Well, I mean, that's what watersheds do. They monitor usage. I mean, you can take a drone and fly around the lake and monitor, and if there's a significant change that's not approved, that's how they catch. We are, at this time, we are a complaint-driven checkpoint. We're nothing more than that. So, I mean, are we going, you know, we have the rules, but do we have the enforcement or the monitoring? We don't. So.
And if we do that, we need more.
But that's another topic.
I know.
And I think we should address that, but
So
I don't
need to
know.
address how we go about this zoning ordinance. Do we wait for someone to come to us in petition, complaint, or whatever and do it? Or do we start at the board level? I don't know how to start it at the board level unless one of my neighbors comes down and said, hey, you should look at this. Hey, Kyle, we should look at that. That's the only way that I would know to do that.
That's usually what happens.
The height. Can we, okay, let's take that to zoning ordinance.
We increased height. We took away our
But
restrictions.
the process anyway.
Is this one reducing it?
It's increasing it again.
So what I'm hearing is, and maybe I'm totally wrong, is we need someone to bring it to us. Maybe it's Kyle, go through Kyle. We decide as a board if we want it to go to the ordinance review committee. They review it. They make a recommendation to the planning commission, and then it comes back to us. Then there's a public meeting and it comes back to us, right?
I mean, I think we should, I mean, I don't know if it has to come to the board, but I think
If it's significant, now we don't know what's, I mean.
Yeah, we're not going to play that.
Significant, yeah.
The thing about what you mentioned about the complete rewrite, it was when we contracted the Bolton Meng to go through our ordinances, this was understanding our ordinances and write them so we could follow our current ordinances. This wasn't making up new ordinances. It wasn't changing our ordinance. This was making a document that was good, well read, that we could follow and get, and anyone could figure out what they need to do. That's what my interpretation is. When you rewrite something, it's using the current information, the current standards. And we wanted to add 4 or 5. We mentioned that, and we didn't get that. Now I think Kyle's trying to rewrite that. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're trying to rewrite that, and we are going through the items individually, what we want to look at, what we want to enhance. But I think this one just rose to a top where I'm like, you know, if we do this, it should be very open, transparent to the public that we are considering some of these changes. And I think this board has to be aware of that before it gets back to us. And we're like, whoa, this was where we.
I mean, I would agree because I remember at the planning commission meeting, the people that were lined up to speak, many were there to speak about wakeboarding and feedlots, but there were also a great deal that were there concerned that we were making the lots on lakes smaller.
Actually changing zoning districts.
Yep.
But I mean, there's a lot of things in here that need to be looked at. Parking is a major one. Signs are a major one. I mean, I don't want to just say it's housekeeping. Like I said, what I would like to request is at least a complete review, and which I think will turn into a rewrite. But
So do you think, Kyle, that would be best done in a work session with the whole board? Sit here.
It'll be days long.
Well,
it's my recommendation is it needs to happen, yes.
Maybe we should, if you could give the 20,000-foot view of the topics to be discussed, and then we kind of have a consensus that, yes.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
You know, not the details, but
I don't mean us as a board being the zoning ordinance review committee.
Right.
I mean us going through and saying which ones do we want to,
Send this to committee.
yes.
Send this to the zoning committee. We need to look at
Or
this.
the ordinance review committee first, right?
Yep.
Well,
But the other thing is a lot of them, when you pick one, a lot of times they will trigger another section. I mean, I think my recommendation is you should consider looking at rewriting the whole thing. If that is the case, then we'll do some kind of public outreach immensely to say, hey, everything's on the table, but I mean, this ordinance is effective, again, but it's not user-friendly.
I like the idea of some public notification because we have to be transparent. This is a pretty big undertaking. I don't know what that looks like, but.
Well, and I would say we did it once because we did do it with the comp plan, and the front title says, request for proposals to rewrite Becker County Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Ordinance. And those interested, I think it got to them because they were here almost every board meeting. We can do it again.
I think the rewrite, if we can certainly direct the committee to do a rewrite and try to organize these with our current ordinances. Now, there will be minor changes as you move along, but if there's significant changes, I think, like if we are suggesting a significant change in density and in parking, I mean, parking is one that we should be looking at and requiring significant parking on when we give a conditional use permit. So, I mean, there are things that we need to add.
Yep.
This one is 300, and we adjusted this a few years ago, and that's why you have these amendments to your original. We lowered it to, there's 3 tiers of environmental lakes, and the highest square foot or linear footage is 350. What is it? 350, 250, and 300?
250, yep.
So do you want to look at that? And if we want to do it, one of the things I see, if we look at reducing that, then maybe we want to require half of it, 50, 60% stays in natural state, or, and define that. So, I mean,
Can we do this in, one thought, can we do this in stages? I don't feel like we need to redo our feedlot ordinance. We just did it.
You sure?
Yes. Positive.
Why not?
So.
But how do we incorporate that without changing it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Or I think we as a board aren't going to enact any wakeboarding, all of the stuff that we've
addressed.
Yes. So I think, could we do this in stages when we're notifying the public of saying shoreland ordinance review?
Could maybe you just give a report before it goes to ordinance committee, what area, this is our topics on the next 2 sessions. Any concerns, and put that out to us prior to our board meeting, and we can.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think we need to have at least one work session as a board with Kyle to go over where our priority is as far as zoning ordinances.
Mr. Chair, what will our goals be of this? Bringing things into compliance, better compliance with our.
I think our number one thing would be a better document so people can follow it and understand it easier.
Mr. Chair, what does better mean? I just went through this with the watershed for a year and a half. We went from 22, 23 pages to 50 some pages. That to me, when I was at the end, I'm like, that is not clear. Well, they said it was for clarification.
Well, what's our document now?
Sometimes clarification doesn't mean shorter, right?
Our document now is 162 pages, and I just counted it's been amended 43 times.
So if things have been amended and changed.
Since 1980.
1971.
Things have been amended and changed. Well, the stuff that's been amended can be not in there, right? The current.
Wow, could be re-amended.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that let's say something's amended and there's there's 10 amendments to one part. There's 10 more pages. Well, we can get rid of 9 pages because we'll go.
No, there's
I
nothing you
don't-
can get rid of. When it's amended, it's changed. So it doesn't have the old documents left.
Oh, they're gone?
Yeah, they're gone. You could
So
call it a
something
brand new
added.
document every time. It's just been amended. The original has
I
been
got you.
amended.
It's added.
So, Mr. Chair, Kyle, what was your recommendation on this?
I would
Consider
like you-
rewriting the whole zoning ordinance.
Yes.
What does that look like in a time frame?
Depends how fast you move. I mean,
Well, we
if
don't-
you
do we
want
have
the
any-
truth. So you saw the comp plan, that was,
Do we want this coming, Barry, you said we want this coming from this board. That way, that means we have to hear it first before we send it to the zoning ordinance committee, correct?
I would say, it's a suggestion. I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, there's nothing easy about this. What I'm saying is, this board should be aware of the possible changes coming
Yeah,
before
we got
you.
that.
So if you want to get a bird's eye view, a 20,000-foot view of what's being considered at the next month, I think this board can look at it.
Agreed. So process, what is the process to do that? Everybody kind of agrees on that.
I just have one question. Are there any ordinances that are coming out of the comp plan? Because I believe any changes that the comp plan directs have to be enacted in 2 years.
well, I would say the biggest thing that the comp plan did was we created some of that mixed use and things like that, and the public
Yep.
is aware of that, and I just got a call on it the other day, and we don't have that. So one of the biggest things we probably should be implementing from that is that Ag 1, Ag 2, you know, that would be probably the biggest thing. Obviously, it talks about redevelopment of lots. That was one of our goals, so I would think that's the shoreline ordinance. But those districts, I would say, is the biggest thing.
Because those are the ones that are more statutorily, like, we have these on the comp plan, but we don't have any ordinances to go along with it.
Right, so, you know, if the comp plan is suggesting something should be mixed use, but we don't have a mixed use district, that's, yeah.
Does everybody think we should move forward with this at this level?
What do you mean,
Move forward with
At a
this,
work
with what we're
session?
talking about, have work session, right? And with Kyle coming up with, hey, let's review this topic and we'll get through that and then we'll go to the next one. And does everybody feel we need to do that?
The other option would be keep our ordinances as is and add the changes, again, amend. Right?
How are we
That's-
going to know how to amend them if we don't?
Well, the amendments are, what we've done in the
Right.
comprehensive plan.
What we've done in the comp plan?
There would be some needed amendments that we'd
Like the
have to
mixed
change our
lots and
ordinance.
the-
Yes, the mixed lots and the.
But one of the
Which still
issues is
Kyle would
they're
have to
not-
bring-
They're not,
Forward to it.
one of the issues is they're not very public user friendly. They can't.
They're hard for us to interpret.
Yeah.
I just thought of one. One of our major ones is our subdivision ordinance. If you call the county surveyor right now, Josh Pfeffer, he'll say, it's a nightmare, it's impossible to interpret, and you need to rewrite it. And that shouldn't be too controversial, again, I mean, because that's just setting procedure on how things get done. But that one should be at the top of the list.
I think, I don't know what process, but I think there are some of these things, we're going to have to amend our current ordinance because we're not going to get a rewrite done in any time frame,
No.
any decent time frame. So I think we're going to have to continue to amend the current ordinance and include, and if you want to work towards the complete rewrite, we're going to have to do that in stages, and it's going to take time. But I think we should, in these cases where they're pertinent, immediate, I think we put them in and just amend our current ordinance. Again, messy as it is, it's our only tool that we have working right now. We can't just say we're going to change and not have something fully done.
Mr. Chair, let's come up with a working schedule. And Kyle, you just said that we should do the subdivision, or you said there should be an easy one. Let's start with that one, or start with whatever one you want.
Well, I think the
Let's set them up and let's.
It
move
shouldn't be
forward.
it shouldn't be controversial, is
Well,
what I'm saying. I mean,
But
I agree with Commissioner Berry. We need to make sure that we have everything correct. So we might have to make some amendments before we make some revisions, or at the same time, you know what I mean? Because we probably do have some things that we have in our comp plan that we need to get in our ordinances right away.
So,
You know what I
but with
mean?
those, do we need a work session for, like, my interpretation of what the work session was going to be was to prioritize what needs to be done.
Yeah.
If we know we need the subdivision, the mixed lot, that, all those stuff that came out of the comp plan, I think those can go straight to the ordinance committee.
Well, or even go straight to the planning commission.
Yep.
Because it's been vetted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are already.
Okay, Mr. Chair, then let's have a work session discussing all of these issues so you know what we're sending to the zoning or planning and zoning or the zoning ordinance committee, so you're all aware of what we're going, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Me and Barry on the zoning ordinance and planning and zoning will come back with what the considerations are. We do that, Kyle? And that way everybody would know, which, that would satisfy Barry's. Right?
I'm doing it for you. I mean, if I.
Yeah, no,
No,
I get it. Kyle, can you do that?
Yeah, if you want to have a next meeting, that's.
Are you guys all okay with that?
At the next meeting?
Yeah, as soon as.
So you come up
better,
with the
right?
topics and then in what order you want to do.
I'm probably going to bring them all to you and just say, hey, this is going to be new. Like, we don't have wind and solar. So that's completely new. And then if I look at signs, I'm going to tell you where we're looking at being more restrictive and less restrictive.
And that's
We're
what you'd
looking at
send
our
the zoning ordinance. That's what we'd send there.
something similar.
Okay.
But I'll probably just go over with them, topic by topic. I had a suggestion the other day about our planning commission, our text or our planning commission requirements. I mean, the whole thing, like I said, so it's just looking at it section by section and explaining to you, hey, this is what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yay or nay.
So to be clear, are we talking about a board work session to prioritize the ordinances rewrites or reviews? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not sure at this point.
Oh,
That,
great.
then a yes or no on if we even want to look at it. So I think we go through and say yes or no. If it's something controversial that the board doesn't want to take on, then we don't look at it. And then we prioritize what we do want to look at. So I would say those two.
So yes to my question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
It doesn't
and,
have to be a I mean, just a.
Just on the backside of a board meeting?
yeah, just a work session.
A work
Backside of a board
session
meeting?
specific for this. Okay. Okay.
Since we're all here next week, can we do it next Tuesday after our 90 minutes to 2 hours?
Closed session.
We have a closed.
Is next Tuesday's
Is that
enough time for you, Kyle?
Next Tuesday would be our strategic planning session at 8:15.
You could do a couple of work sessions. Can you, do you want?
Handle an hour and a half of a strategic plan and a couple closed sessions,
Uh,
another hour and a half.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
might be
know.
a bit much. That's
That
why I'm
might-
bringing
that
it up.
I'm,
Consider we've been here for 4 hours already. I think we can, well, okay. How much time you need, Kyle? I don't care. I want to do it sooner rather than later, though.
Well, and your option is to do it on the backside of a board meeting, which these are getting kind of long, or on and off cycle.
how about if we do it, our next board meeting on the 3rd,
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
and we'll keep that in mind during the board meeting
Yes,
To help us go faster.
to help us go faster.
yes.
So again, just to restate the purpose, Kyle is to bring a list. As a board, you're going to prioritize. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, and I think top priority is going to be the ones that are coming out of the comp plan. But,
And then you'll make during.
and then go the work session, go through the zoning ordinance and what do we want to
Focus on.
focus on. Yep, and I think even just a high level of, no, we don't want to touch that, it's fine. We want to rewrite that.
Next. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Not going into specifics of what it's going to be rewritten to.
No, you won't have enough time.
No.
Yeah, I'll just tell you,
Mhm.
it's going to be how they're going to differ. I'm going to explain it in layman's terms.
And then it'll go to zoning ordinance
Yep.
review to polish it up, to bring back to this
Some of
committee.
them, they've been vetted through the comp plan.
So they can go right to the planning and zoning for the public.
So if they need some work,
And,
then you would
yeah.
probably look at having them go to the review.
If they need.
Right, and I think we could,
To do
like,
the backside work. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I think we could establish something amongst the five of you right now where if it's something like, okay, this text amendment revision, if you don't agree with the procedure, I just call both the two members and you're okay to go right to the planning commission and not vet that through a 5-member board, right? Something that simple.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I just call and say, hey, the board is not okay with this procedure, let me just take it right to the planning commission and fix it, right? You both good with that? Okay, you are, see, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't have a problem.
All right.
Great.
Anything else?
Anything else?
We have lunch up on third floor.
Yes.
Including
Pizza.
lunch.
Brunch. We're past
Pizza, lunch,
Lunch. Well, it's not lunchtime yet.
department head. It isn't. I don't think I talked about it.
I got it.
Is there anything else for the good of the order? We are adjourned.
Right.
So,
Money, and I